The nod was fantastic. me transition us over on that one.
Get past us. Anyway. Well, let me know
I
when
have
you
to. I have to.
He can't embrace
you
it.
gotta be the mature one. You gotta be the mature one.
I guess somebody's got to hold this fort together just a little bit. So.
True.
I know.
All I can.
Should I be recording now?
Not yet.
Okay.
I don't even have Audacity open. What are you talking about?
Me too. I did hit the button myself. Let me mute that. That's why I'm hearing Discord twice. I've got my laptop open in the living room. I'm like, why am I hearing it? I know it should be only through my headset.
Well, you gonna go close the laptop?
Yeah, it's not that bad. No one. I mean, I can barely hear it, but it's like faint.
Just go close it.
Look at you. Look at you. Just go close it.
Yes, I said it just like that. Just go close it.
Just go close it. I don't want this to interfere with the purity of the. I got you.
This is why Paul is not a permanent host. Thanks, guys.
You ever put on clothes and feel like you were meant to wear it? Or you just fits, it like feels perfect on you?
You in your various set of ties every day?
Really just tuxedos. Like I wear a tuxedo and I'm like, this feels right.
I've ever
like
worn a real tuxedo, not one with a bow tie.
Mm-mm.
Even my wedding, I had a suit. It wasn't even a tuxedo.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't have a tux, huh?
Nope, I did a suit. It was like in the house that I'm in now is where we got married, so it was very small.
Let me know when you want that local, man.
All right, if you guys want to start your recordings, give it a couple seconds here.
Are we in the pre-show live right now?
Yeah, they can hear us. They can see us.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yep. All right, you guys can start recording. You're good there. I'm not even going to do timestamps today, so good luck with everybody. Before we actually, I'm going to cut off the front of this before we actually start the show. Spoiler talk. Do you guys want to save it for the end if possible? Do you think we can actually kind of make that separation?
Yeah, let's save it for the end for story things. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. I think we're in business. So whenever we want, we'll go. Everybody good?
Yeah, man.
Yep.
All right. Silence on the set. Must feel ridiculous doing that. 5, 4, 3.
All right. We are here. It is time. And we are live. The Witch Queen edition. The moment. What's going on? The last word, LordCognito. Ebontis, Ty Guy Travis, and an amazing special returning guest as always. But let's start with my man E. How are we doing? We are here. The Witch Queen.
Yeah, minimal sleep, lots of hours staring at my computer, and honestly, having a blast. So I'm having a good time. I was like, there's other things happening on screen right now. So people have seen me stream a lot in the last couple of days. We will talk about our thoughts on everything. Travis, I need explanations about everything happening on screen. And if you are an audio listener, we have Ty Guy Travis. Please go find this on audio or video.
Yes.
Ty Guy Travis in a tuxedo. I'm pretty sure holding a flute of champagne. So Travis, take it away, sir.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys knew this, but my wardrobe over the years has been purely determined by how good Destiny is at the time. And
that makes a lot of sense, actually.
I like
yeah,
it.
and so now, you guys didn't know this, but the entire year of the Taken King, I wore this every day. And then it sort of kind of went up and down over the years, but now I'm back at the tuxedo. So yeah, it's been a great week. We eating out here, Destiny fans. Oh, it's been good.
This dead game is delicious.
Been absolutely delicious, like a glass of champagne, a flute of champagne. So yeah, it's been very good. Shall I introduce our guest here today? Or?
Please do. Please
by
do.
all means.
Okay, yeah. I'd like to introduce our guest, but first I actually have a little bit of a personal story I thought that I would share with the group here. Let me see if I can find it.
Great.
I have
great.
no idea what's
so here we
happening,
go.
everybody. We're off the rails.
No, this is great. So somebody sent me some codes for emblems in Destiny. They just sent me some codes here. I got it on Twitter. And I was so surprised. I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like these are the codes that you get for emblems that you get on the store or whatever. And I said, oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And he said, no problem. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the content that you've produced. It's helped me a lot for years. I miss seeing you on Fireteam chat and hope that you were doing well. And I was very touched by this. And then he ended it with, thanks, Mr. Tassi.
Yo.
So just wanted to share that as the intro for our guest, Paul Tassi here.
What you're saying is you owe me some codes.
What I'm saying is I used
that are
some
rightfully
codes
mine.
before. I'm saying I probably owe you some codes that I used that were supposed to give you.
How would that have happened? Is what
I
I'm
have-
wondering.
Is it
I
like
have no
Travis
clue.
and Tassi? Somebody
no
got a
clue.
email link kind of disconnected or something?
Maybe he just thought we were each other the whole time. I don't know. Maybe he just thought you were Paul Tassi the entire time of Fireteam chat. He never read the names at the bottom.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe he really was trying to say you meant a lot to him. We'll go with that.
We're gonna go with
That
that.
is hilarious.
But anyway, I think that serves as much of an introduction as you'll need to welcome our honored guest, Paul, friend of the show, former Fireteam chat member, possibly future Fireteam chat member if we can get our
What?
stuff together.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. We're trying
That
to
one,
plan
that
some-
one's also going to be coming hot, like the TWAB. We don't even have yet.
We don't have the
Yeah.
time.
I'm
Well,
refreshing
Bungie
like
just
crazy.
posted something
Yes,
about
they did.
Ukraine, about donating money from Game to Give for the next 48 hours to them.
Okay.
So-
that's
I-
nice.
Yeah, I can read it.
All
Our
right.
hearts and our hearts are with our friends and families by the events affected by the events in Ukraine. We will be donating 100% of the proceeds for the first 48 hours of our Game to Give drive to humanitarian aid aid efforts going in response to the conflict. And there's different links for Direct Relief, Voices of Children, and International Rescue Committee. So check the link out. Very good things. Obviously, if you guys aren't paying attention to the news, there's issues going on in the world. So,
An issue. Yeah.
like,
War. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some people
pretty much
call it
a
a
war.
war. Yeah.
it was, it escalated yesterday. So, to say the
Yeah.
least. Trying not to get
So
too much
probably
into
no TWAB this way.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I'm guessing
Really
honestly,
that.
I was honestly wondering if
That's
they
fine.
weren't going to do the TWAB because
Yeah.
we already have enough to talk about. There's probably not too much besides, some things are broken. We're working on them. We know it.
Yeah.
And other than that, So
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, lots of brands are doing social media silence today, including
Possible, yeah. They could be internally, maybe try to make a decision, maybe
Mm-hmm.
not to
Yeah.
do it in lieu of the events. That's a possible, yeah. I didn't think
Yeah.
about that.
probably not too much crucial that they need to tell us that we don't already have in our hands as it is. It's not like, hey, by the way, here's Void 3.0. You've been playing with it for a couple days.
Right, and they might
Yeah.
not want to celebrate, be like, "Oh, we got all these concurrent players," and
Right,
it's
yeah.
good because it's all good news, obviously. So
Yep.
maybe they'll just, maybe they'll hold off.
Yep.
Yeah.
But plenty to talk about.
Plenty to talk about.
Well, it has been so before we get started, I wanted to see if I can have a little fun with the podcast. Now, with those of you that are listening, spoilers. If you're wondering about that, we are going to keep spoilers to as much of a minimum as possible, especially like second half of the story, anything much later, any big reveals, anything of that nature. We will do that and give you guys kind of an audio warning for it. I will also try and possibly cut in, it might sound weird to be like spoilers at whenever, so if you want to jump ahead or skip it, you will know. But before we get to our discussion about the giant expansion of Witch Queen and Season of the Risen that launched recently, I wanted to ask and see, because I've heard a lot of amazing comments and things on Twitter and stuff like that. And then a little while ago, we also got a game that had some fun comments and things with regard to my hosts. And I wanted to say, if you had to pick one or the other, Destiny 2 Witch Queen campaign, Halo Infinite campaign, what do you pick?
Ooh.
Oh, that's interesting.
Bitch Queen. Come on.
That's interesting. I
Look,
didn't
Halo
see that
Infinite was
coming.
fine, but no. I mean, granted, this is some amount of bias, just given how invested I am in Destiny, but I gotta say Witch Queen in terms of how it moved the story forward. Like, I had fun during Infinite, and like there were some good moments, but like to me, Infinite just in the grand scheme of the Halo universe kind of felt like either like a postscript to Halo 5 or like an intro to what would have been Halo 6. Like, you don't really make that much progress, I don't think, over the course of that story, and I don't know. I think there's more to come with Infinite and like kind of as an ongoing story, but I don't think they're particularly close, if you ask me.
I know I had some pretty high marks from my other hosts, so that's why I wanted these two to see if they can make a call. But before we do, David James Oros, hey guys, big fan, longtime listener. Witch Queen was great, just like all of you. I'll post my IGN score later this week. IGN is important Glaive news. And then also $2, always be Glaven.
He is a huge Glaive fan. Shout out to DJ, man.
Yeah,
We've
no
been
kidding.
We've been rocking
He's
and
been
rolling.
commenting on every post I make on Twitter about Glaives.
Yes,
he just
he's
loves Glaives.
Huge fan.
Glaive
Huge.
evangelism. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Paul's doing the
Oh
same
yeah,
thing.
no, they're so good. I just be legendary with the Glaive. It's amazing.
I didn't use.
I'll go on a whole rant about Glaives later.
Yep,
Okay.
we'll get to that. Okay, so let's go Cognito first. What's your? I gotta know. Xbox guy, Destiny guy.
You trying to make me pick between my kids? And
Yes,
all that.
exactly. I thought it'd be
So,
hilarious.
Here's the thing: the context. Paul said it best. Halo Infinite is a return to form. Halo Infinite is them getting back on track. But the reality is, 5. You know, there was some things that narratively people didn't desire, including myself. So to me, this was like making things right, having a cohesive thing. Now we're setting up, you know, the future for Halo. That's fine. Destiny is like, Witch Queen is like endgame. Like this is like all the narrative threads built to this moment. And I don't know if we're going to touch it, but it's like, we're not going to spoil.
Yeah, we won't
But
spoil
the
till later.
execution and the scale felt earned. Like this led to what I felt for the most part, great execution. And this is Bungie storytelling for the most part, you know, A tier. So I sorry.
Okay, no, okay.
Sorry,
Like, let me
bro,
see.
it's clear,
Before
like-
I give it to Travis, let me ask you this then, because I knew that
Yeah.
kind of might be the way this goes. Is this the best campaign from Bungie?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Now it's new, it's fresh. I don't want to,
Recency
I don't want to be a
bias.
prisoner of the moment because I just did it. I mean, man, it's really good though. It's really good. The reason why it's still incomplete, and again, we talked
Raid.
offline. Yes, because at the end of the list, we know Paul. We talked. We know Bungie's gonna make a great raid. I'm not worried about the raid being not great.
Is that part of the campaign though?
I consider it.
If
I
the
just-
story ties to it, like, I mean,
Well,
Last Wish.
I think so.
Last Wish I would say, like, was the kind of final piece of where the campaign led to. It was part of the story, I would say, in my head. At least.
Everybody reviews it differently. I just, my personal review, I feel like I've always hated when the raids were disconnected and they had really no narrative continuity. Like when Taken King kind of introduced that and then Forsaken continued, that is huge for me. And I'm pretty confident this is going to lead into it, but it's just a matter of, okay, we do have Taken King out there. We do have, you know, the Last Wish raid that led from the Dreaming City and how that was so well done and woven. So we just got to see the execution and what happens, but incomplete. I can't say that yet.
Fair enough.
Until I get that. So, but as far as your first question, yeah, I gotta go with the recency bias, and I gotta go with Witch Queen.
Travis?
I'm curious with Travis because Travis loves both too.
Yep.
Those are children.
Yeah, I love both of them. I'm super deep in the lore of both of them, and so my high marks for Halo Infinite were sort of two-pronged. I really liked the campaign, but and especially the fact that it changed its formula up and was open world and all that stuff, but not a lot of the reason I loved it was due to its story particularly. And I think that's just because the Halo story and the Destiny story are both really convoluted, and unless you keep up with them, they don't really make sense to you. And I'm sure most people probably aren't going to get a lot of the Witch Queen campaign regardless, just because if you're not really in the lore, it's hard to follow. And that's evidenced by the fact that I played it with somebody who's super not in the lore, and they were kind of like, well, what's going on? Like a lot of the time, you know?
Yeah.
So it can be hard. I actually think Halo and Destiny have that problem in common. So
Bungie has
part
that
of the reason,
problem.
yeah, part of the reason that I thought part of the reason I thought Halo Infinite was one of the best packages you could get is because the multiplayer was also like almost flawless. Like it was like incredibly good, and as a package is a great game. But I would say it's really hard to compare the two. If you're just going by story, I would say Witch Queen definitely has it. Like to Paul's point, Halo Infinite is a lot of setup. It's kind of like the first chapter, and Destiny benefits from having years of setup and also a live service where they can kind of build it incrementally over the week. So I would say when it comes to story, it's better. In terms of the actual like gameplay during the campaign, probably Halo, honestly. And that's just because I think the Halo sandbox and mechanics and shooting are just like top notch, but it's hard to know what you mean when you say campaign, because like if you would consider the raid part of the campaign, which I wouldn't, then that's like a whole separate conversation of like, is there end game in the Halo Infinite campaign? Like, no, not really. You can play it on Legendary, but it's kind of
even
it's really
that out.
Yeah, we're really comparing apples to oranges. I'm a critic in that I tell you if a game is good or bad, but I'm really not accustomed to comparing a game to another game. That's not really like in my skill set, I guess. But they're both fantastic. I think we can agree, and they're both
absolutely.
They're both high marks for the studios that made them. I would say it's not the best campaign that Bungie's made, though. I still think that goes to Halo 2, personally.
Okay. That's what I was like. I thought that'd be a fun kickoff just because I know like huge Halo fans, Bungie campaign's been through a lot, so I just thought it'd be a funny one to kick off. I want to go to Paul first, as now we'll talk into Witch Queen, and whether it's 30,000 foot view, your favorite thing so far. At this point, we are going to bounce around everywhere, so I am sorry for those who look forward to timestamps.
Gosh, Paul.
Yeah, just let it out. If you've already haven't done it in your 20, 30 minutes of videos that you've done already.
Well, I was going to do a TWAB video today, so I didn't do one. So I got plenty to say. So just kind of an overview of where I'm at. I did my first run through on normal, just really quick. I wanted to get through all the story beats before people started spoiling it for me, which was bound to happen. So I did that on day 1. I just wrapped up a legendary campaign run solo on my Titan as a second run as of like an hour ago. And so I got that experience. I have done the Parasite exotic quest, and my highest character is only like 15, close to like 1530, 1527, something like that. Yep. So I haven't progressed some of the other higher things that you need to be like closer to 1550 for. I've gotten pretty deep into the Throne World leveling up. I just unlocked the ability to do like master, heroic, legend, and master campaign missions, which is really interesting.
13, is that where you are?
13,
I'm like the exact same spot. That's crazy.
Yeah. Because you get a lot of XP running the campaign itself, so that really helps level you up.
Oh, interesting.
So that's kind of, I've experienced a good amount of this. Obviously done weapon crafting, only have used Void 3.0. I am deeply, deeply impressed with 99.9 of every % of everything I've seen here. I certainly think we can debate like Bungie or Halo or the grand history, but this is Destiny's best campaign.
Yes, for sure.
I don't think it is especially close. Like I know everybody loves the Taken King, and I think the Taken King is a very good expansion, and it was a totally transformative experience for Destiny compared to obviously vanilla. So like the difference between Taken King and vanilla D1 was probably bigger than the gap between last year of Destiny 2 and Witch Queen. But last year of Destiny 2 was awesome. So, it's the series itself has progressed to a point where, those kind of huge leaps forward in quality are hard. And yet I still think they managed to do a lot of that here. And the decision to focus as much as they did on the campaign and the campaign missions, and still there's a bunch of bonus stuff even besides that happening, I think that was absolutely the right call. I think everyone is very, very satisfied with how the campaign went, both narratively, in terms of, we'll get into that later with the story stuff, but also in terms of how it plays. People were really, really enjoying their legendary playthroughs of it. I'm not really a big like solo dungeon person, try this encounter 300 times and tear your hair out. This was like the right balance of challenge to me. Like I'm not that hardcore, but I still don't really love that you can just steamroll through a story and just like you're almost like sprinting through it like it's a strike or something. And I liked having to play tactically, having to think about the builds I was using, but it's still not so difficult. It's like, okay, you need to be in like, you need to have the GM meta build to like get through it and like perfect teamwork. You can do it solo. I did it solo. I've heard all sorts of different loadouts that people have used to make it to the end. I had my buddy the Glaive with me the whole time, which I can get into later. But I think it was very important both in kind of the scale and the scope of the campaign and the fact that they designed it around being played over and over again. Because it's not just a legend run now. Again, this is a farmable activity for Pinnacle drops, for weapon crafting materials, and things like that. So this is something we're going to keep coming back to. And like, it's crazy to me that you couldn't replay the past story campaigns. And a lot of games are doing this now. Halo Infinite, you can't replay the campaign, like going back to individual missions or things. So this is not the most common thing anymore. So I think it was kind of a risk, because if the campaign didn't deliver, then all that work would have been kind of pointless. And we'd be like, well, I don't want to play that again. Like, forget it. But I think it really paid off, and they did a fantastic job. So that'll be my intro thoughts here.
Travis?
Yeah. I generally agree. I mean, I think, the Taken King was the biggest leap forward Destiny will probably ever get, but that's mostly due to the fact that Destiny Vanilla was not great. Aside from the raid, the notable exception of the raid, it was in a really bad spot, and they fixed a ton and made it more of an RPG. But I think, in the age of incrementally better Destiny expansions, the Witch Queen is without a doubt the best campaign. It's got the best economy that we've seen in a while. Like, things are kind of stable. You're getting it's fun to do things like grind the deep sight weapons, and I find myself, in the past I wasn't really looking for the god rolls, but now I find myself grinding the wellspring activity because I want to get the Tarnation to drop as a deep sight weapon, right? So that I can craft my own one and then level it up. And so there's sort of like a very cool loop for the hardcore people. Really, my only complaints so far are, it's one of the buggier Destiny releases, similar to Beyond Light. It's got some things that are a little bit wonky, and certain activities have glitched out on me and stuff. And then the second thing is that the economy is extremely unapproachable. Like, the game is probably as unapproachable as it's ever been in its current state, just because it's got now weapon crafting as like yet another layer of like crazy complexity on it for people that haven't played it, and it's really hard to understand the story if you haven't kept up with it and all of those things. So
And yeah,
I think
like
it's really
6 currencies. I was wrong. So
yeah, they're playing to they're playing to their core base, which I think is great. And for people like you and I, we're gonna eat it up and be really happy. But I do worry about new players trying to figure it out. I'm also, as always, I'm annoyed by some small things. Like, I really hate the fact that I can't see how much ruinous alloy I have on
I was gonna say that. I was like,
what's
is
that
there no
about?
place
Yeah.
to check that? 'Cause
There's
that
no place to
seems
check it in the
that
menu.
weird.
Yep, in the
Maybe they were
menu.
trying to cut down on the clutter. That's the only thing I can think of. But
I don't understand the reason why, but yeah, it's really a bizarre choice, and it adds to the confusion, because then you're grinding for this material that you don't even know what you have. You have to go back to the relic to check if you have enough for it, and it's crazy. So I have like little complaints by that, but like on the whole, the story was absolutely fantastic. It was so good to see them using some of the lore that they've been building up for years. The game plays extremely well. I have a hard time using the solar or arc subclasses now. I'll tell you that. Like,
Yeah.
those are
right.
brutal. Like,
It's brutal, like
yeah,
yeah, I've used both of them since the DLC came out, because I just kind of wanted to compare, and contrast. And like, you throwing hammers feels awful. Like, it's like so much worse than using the new classes, because there's so much more.
Void
refined
Overshield
stuff,
Titan Wall is just like,
oh yeah,
I thought that's
Yeah.
like, I went to my arc subclass, I put up a wall, I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have no idea how they're gonna make those
Yeah.
relevant, and I'm very curious to see what they do. But I mean, one of them's 6 months away from right now, probably, it seems like. So it is.
yeah, probably.
It's gonna be
we're
a bit.
They said they're going to do all 3 over the course of the next year, right? Is that what their plan?
yeah. I mean,
so
I'd be surprised if it was. Well, we don't even know how long this season is technically.
3 months. They said May 24th.
They did say that.
Yeah.
I
It's
missed
on
that
the
totally.
Risen stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's
So
no
they're
roadmap
supposed-
yet, right? Like,
there's
actual
not a roadmap. They stopped doing that, but
Yeah.
they I think because they kept making promises and then having to push them back.
They
But
were usually pretty good about hitting roadmap targets. I thought better than most other
Yeah.
games.
well, there
Yeah.
are things that were on the roadmap that they still haven't done, like the adding the catalysts for the ones that weren't there. And
Oh, I just meant like the seasonal roadmap, not like the overarching. like,
I know what you're talking
crap,
about.
we
This
have
the
to get
photo,
done
the
roadmap.
photo.
Yeah,
I
the
was talking
photo,
about
yeah.
I was talking about the old roadmaps they used to do, where
No,
like
no,
do this
no,
by
no,
June
not
and stuff.
those.
Those were awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we don't have a roadmap. But the one thing I will say that is like the big thing that I think that is a knock against the Witch Queen is the stuff it doesn't have. That's like it doesn't do anything for Crucible. The Gambit fixes, I think, are not sufficient. Like the stuff
haven't even
that
played
that sort of
I haven't even
Yeah,
go-
I played
Yeah.
it. It's
yeah.
bad.
The fact that
I don't
the
know.
strike playlist is still pretty limited and contains the old strikes, and there's just stuff that like is still wrong with Destiny, right?
Battlegrounds,
That I
all
feel
right in it. How's
Yeah.
Battlegrounds in there?
I like that they added the battlegrounds. It's
Battlegrounds
at least
is great.
something. Like,
Okay.
and they took the
Yeah.
champions out, and they're just yellow bars now. And like,
Okay.
Yeah.
it's certainly a good idea.
Mm.
But obviously we would just like more strikes and more
Exactly,
visible maps.
yeah.
Like Empire
It-
Hunts should
it-
still be in there. I'm gonna stand by that one.
I'm with you.
I
I
agree.
agree
I don't
with
know
that.
why they're not in there.
I was like, it's
I
a
think
year
because
old now.
It's part of Beyond Light, I think, so they don't
It's-
want to like give
The
that away.
separation,
It's
yes.
made
Yeah,
good
it's
point.
the free
Maybe they will
content.
someday. I mean, they're probably going to make Beyond Light free at some point. So
That'll
Yeah,
be a few years.
yeah,
yeah,
at
but
least two.
yeah, that's sort of the like if you're just looking at the content that is like the meat of this expansion, and you're just looking at the content that you're playing, the campaign and the exploring the open world, it's fantastic, really hard to beat. It's more the ecosystem around it and the stuff that still is in kind of a dire state that I'm more critical on. But yeah, I have very few complaints about the content I've played so far, which is great.
Cog.
Yo, they did it, man. They did it. They did it for me. I just fired it up, and the first thing I thought about was UE in the sense of the storyboard stuff. And I'm thinking of a new player who, let's be honest, Destiny's lore, especially Hive lore, could get really intense. And I love the setup of, okay, how did we get here? What's going on? And then we dive in. First thing off the bat, the skyboxes, some of the things that you see in the throne world, a lot of decadence, a lot of elegance. You know what I'm saying? Like it was really cool. A lot of transitioning between different worlds and sandboxes that I really liked. As far as like Paul said, I went immediately to Void because I said, you know what? I'm going to put it on Legendary. I want to really test 3.0 to see how effective it is on this quote unquote Nightfall level, kind of difficulty. And I was very impressed. It was that perfect balance. And this is what we've always wanted, because the problem with Destiny prior campaigns, as good as they are, when you go through and steamroll and you squash, it doesn't feel good. And then on top of that, you can't replay it. And to Travis's point, I did encounter some really awful bugs where, you at the boss and I glitched out and I'm like, no. And then what was so cool, we were so nervous because some of those mechanics in these fights were really intense. Especially there's a guy when you go down and he's kind of circling, he's kind of giving you D1, what is it, a la Ghul in the dark kind of thing. But
The Dark Blade.
Yeah, give you Dark Blade vibe. There's one part, that encounter was pretty brutal. But the thing about it that I loved, that the glitch happened, and when I went back, I was so happy to see almost like that raid 3/4 length circle saying that you're 3/4 of the way, and it went right back. And I say, yes.
Checkpoints.
So
Yes.
checkpoints. The campaign is meaty. It is meaty. These stages, they're long, they're lengthy. The characters that you face are great. And the thing that I realized the difference with the story, with the Lucent Brood having the light, is transformative. Because you have tactical decisions you have to make now on the battlefield. If you take out that hive, that's using thunder, that's a witch or whatever, first, and they're protected, and you don't get to that ghost and finish that ghost, you end up cursing yourself. Like, you've got to be tactical. And that's the part I was just smiling. I'm like, okay, this is truly transformative. Not just, okay, yeah, they're using our powers, but if you don't finish them, it can be really detrimental to you in the mission. So story, lore's phenomenal. I got to shout out my Void Locks. 3.0 is shining, E. I'm loving it. I'm using the Rift for Devour almost as a weakening for bosses. So I'll DPS, set up the weaken effect, go into that. Shout out to having melees that can do the volatile effect, that can blow people up. Again, what Paul was saying in reference to different builds and loadouts, the glaives are outside. I see people with the glaives. I actually went back to an old school ignition code with blinding grenades and kind of really stunning people. But I just felt the difficulty, everything felt earned. And then when I got to that ending part, and obviously we're not going to do spoilers and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, I see where they're going. I'm getting my end game moments. I'm getting characters that I'm new characters, older characters, a lot of stuff. I have one complaint though, as far as I would have liked some of the end game characters, some of them to be more voiced when they were all on screen.
Yeah.
That's just a nitpick. But other than that, man, look, they did it. And as far as the actual weapon craft, I didn't dive too much into it, but the system so far, okay. I got to get them though, Trav. Can they stop yelling at me, taking up 30 to 40% of my screen to tell me, make sure you go and inspect the glaive, then use the deep resonance? I'm like, okay, Bungie, okay, can I get this off my
Yeah. Well, no, it's funny because one of the main problems of Destiny right now is that it's really hard to learn how to play the game, and their solution to doing it is like what is really obnoxious and probably not super helpful to the people who need to learn it. So yeah.
It's yellow, but I give it to you. I got so much stuff, but the overall consensus is they did it. This is, yes, by far, in my opinion, the best campaign. I was so satisfied, and yeah, I'm looking forward to where this is gonna go. But I'm curious, man. I saw you rocking. Like where? Yeah, you're the soloist, so I'm curious too. your
Yeah,
perspective.
so first thing, took my Titan, soloed the whole thing on Legendary from the start on stream. It was about 12 hours, I think, from the go for me. And basically, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna face in any encounter, so Arbalest was my crutch. Any shield, I was covered. Didn't matter what it was. I ended up using a bow. I love bows. Whenever Bungie put bows in Destiny, they have been attached to my hip because it's that high damage point on miners, and I can always usually get that crit. They do have a lot of aim assist. Don't give me sometimes so much aim assist they will hit a wall even though you're trying not to hit, like you're trying to hit a leg. So and then just ascendancy. So I had the tracking rocket launcher. I had my threaded needle for most of it, and then if it was more hive than arc, my wolf tone draw. I've got like frenzy and archer's tempo on that thing, and it's kind of just perfect. So that was basically my loadout for the entire thing. I never really took much of it off. I just switched between a couple bows, rocket launcher, and arbalest the whole way through. Void 3.0 the whole way.
Did you use upgrade modules?
Oh, hell yes, I used upgrade modules.
We gotta get him, Travis.
He used it. He used it. You know what's funny? I was using upgrade modules.
They were
the whole
throwing
time.
so many at you.
Yeah,
that's
there's
the
so many they
difference.
give you on
In
Legend.
your
That's the
defense,
right
Tom.
move. It's the
Yes.
right move.
Shout out to Bungie. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta
No,
cut.
no.
That was shout out to. Thank you. That was for me. The double chest and giving me 2 upgrade. Let me stay stylish. I was so happy.
Oh, I
I
didn't
was
care
so
about
proud to hear
style.
you say that. Continue.
I just wanted to make sure my weapons came with me. They were more important. But yeah,
Yes,
no, I was
exactly. Yeah.
I was upgrading constantly. Yes. I mean, I probably did it to a point where I was upgrading too much, where I went to go buy some more. Mine was not about looks. Mine was just like keeping everything up to level because I was going legend solo. I'm like, I need to be as high as possible. That was my main reason to make sure I was up to level.
Mine wasn't about looks either. It was
But
just
it's
the
hard. It's
stats.
hard power cap though, so you couldn't like over level.
Yeah.
You could only get to the point where it was like the minimum for the next one, I think. So it wasn't like a ton, but
yeah, there was
you
one.
Want to keep your build, your stats,
your build,
your discipline, and all
You're
that.
right. I didn't do the armor. I listened to you with armor, but I did what you said. It was that efficient build. Continue. I'm sorry.
No, and then it was just like the big jump from 3 to 4. It went from like 1350 like 1420. Like that was like the one big jump, and everything creeped. No, I mean, we went through it live on stream, had a huge number of people watching that day, for me at least. I mean, obviously not like Glad with thousands of people, but I mean, I enjoyed every minute of that thing. The lore, the voice acting, some of the people that we got introduced to, new characters, as you said, old characters, the way the lore was done to get in, as we said, the animated storyboards. I've said it multiple times, we got more of those. You get to see the history of, the main antagonist. We get more there. The cinematics, dude, like off the charts for Destiny.
Cliff scene.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
I know that's vague.
That is as non-spoilery.
I know, but yes, that's
Cliff.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there were, I will say, Deborah Wilson, amazing job. Shout out to her. She was also blowing it up on Twitter. Deborah Wilson on Twitter got called to do quite a few.
You've been personally insulted by Sabbath in here?
No, that's that was
now you shall forever be known as Paul Grassi.
Yep.
Well,
until the next meme that comes up.
Yeah.
Troll, the little troll.
That was like extra, and I was like, "Ow!" She went. That wasn't even part of the joke.
She went.
No, that wasn't even in the script. She just saw a photo of you
that.
and she ad-libbed that.
Yeah, that was pretty. But yeah, I mean, going through the journey, had a couple of random deaths here and there, but like the checkpoints were really nice. It wasn't rally banners. It was like campaign banners. So you're going into basically every encounter, full ammo, which never had to worry about, which was amazing.
What did you think the hardest part was in Legend solo?
Oh, good question.
For me, the finale.
Yeah, the finale was tough.
That's tough. Yeah,
the third mission, Ghost, is where I saw a lot of comments on my videos because I gave like one of my first videos was just like tips on Legendary, and a lot of them were asking like, I'm dying
Which
like
mission is that?
it's 3. It's the one in the dark.
One in the dark with increased melee damage with this guy who slams the fire thing
Yeah.
down at you.
that guy.
God.
Yep.
On Legend, that is
We didn't have
not
trouble
pleasant.
with that one.
I died
That
the
was
most
like-
during that part. I still only probably died like, I don't know, 10 times in that, but that was the hardest for
See,
me.
that
wasn't for
one,
me.
that one I didn't die at all. But I was like, I died many times to
That's
Sabbath.
amazing.
Yeah, I was like, that one I didn't die at all for whatever reason.
Really?
I only died once to Savathun. It's
See,
the
and then
glaive, I'm telling
Savathun
you.
got me,
First-
so that was the funny. That's the
Yeah.
weird thing when you talk to enough people. There's always like, you're
Yeah.
good at this thing and this thing. It's like for me, running. I've soloed the Dark Blade Strike too many times. I guess I'm just kind of used to kiting and running. I was like, and I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just one of those things. I was like, I kind of got the concept, but it was like there were moments where I was like that close. So I mean, it was more just like pucker real fast and hope you get through it. But yeah, it was close. But no, Savathun, it was just a moment to where tried to get too aggressive. Okay, no. And then trying to figure out how much damage you could get in, then kind of figuring out the mechanics when it came to what was going on. But like just the whole journey through everything, as you guys said, Void 3.0 makes the other classes look, I don't want to play them. I mean, we get a tease of possibly what one of them may look like, but that's all I'm going to say. One of the future subclasses without saying too much. Crafting is going to be, it's going to be a long grind, but it is nice to have a path for the hardcore. I think Travis said it well. The hardcore will have a path and then potentially even more so if you spend the time with something, but it is going to be, some of it's probably going to feel like a tedious journey, I can guess. But I do like the idea of it. The glaive has been fun. I've been actually leaning into that more after the campaign. And then we get into what's going on with the season and everything else. I mean, I'm over the moon for it. So, I mean, of course, like I would probably be able to have to nitpick at some, but I mean, for me, when I was wondering, is like, what would I rate this thing? For me, I would probably rate it like a 9. So, I mean, it's not perfect. It's a little rough around a couple edges, as Travis said. There's things, older systems that still need work, but for what we got, like almost everything I could hope for. So, I mean, that's my
Ask you
general
guys-
top.
I was going to ask all of you, how do you guys feel generally? Because I felt like there was a good diversity of mechanics in this one. But like, how did you guys feel? Did you guys feel like, hey, these are cool encounters? Just on a mechanic level, like, how did you feel overall as far as what they brought to the table?
They were dope.
Well, there were mechanics, first of all.
Yeah,
Usually
dude, I was so
in
happy.
the story game, this is something they talked about before this, and they said they were going to do this, but you know, it normally campaigns, it's like the most complicated they make things are like dunk this orb in this very obvious orb dunking spot, or defend against 3 waves of enemies while a door unlocks. Here, there were like actual mechanics that you had to figure out or Google a guide if you really couldn't, and those got kind of increasingly more complex as time went on. Like I really like the one in the final mission where I won't get into spoilers yet, but it's like
Before the final
you
fight.
had to like really like pay attention to symbols and like figure out how to navigate
Dude,
this
that was
giant
so
space. And they did not give you any hints really at
No
all.
hints.
It was both combat, but also you had to figure out like what the hell was going on. And there are a couple sections like that I thought they did really well, but it was tough enough to be interesting, but not like obviously full raid mechanics that are gonna like just drive you nuts.
Did you guys have your little names for them? Snow Cone Star.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I've had those since, oh God, what is that? Pit of Heresy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got like ice cream cone and hamburger, and I've got like double equals, and I've got all my weird
So,
stuff.
yeah.
Turret guy. Yeah, it's like apparently we do
Mhm.
actually have a
Oh,
TWAB,
hey,
so we will get to that.
New red. Thank you, brother.
He's always on
MVP
it.
in the chat.
Wait, they
MVP.
actually did a swap?
MVP
Seems
in
like
the chat.
it. Yeah. He might have actually tagged me in Discord because it's actually sometimes there faster.
No doubt. Let's see.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, that's a decently high overall. Necromancer, what's the biggest thing you feel missing from the Witch Queen expansion? You guys take that. I'm going to give a look over the TWAB, see if it's worth talking about. Biggest thing you think might be missing, lacking, or just, if you got a critique or something like that. The critiquer, Travis, you get to go first on that one, of course.
The critiquer, Travis.
Critiquer.
Yeah, I kind of already talked about it, but yeah, the things that they're missing, I think, are the things that aren't the campaign. Like if you're just paying for a Witch Queen campaign, that's great, but I view kind of the big expansions as you're paying for this Destiny ecosystem for the next year, right? Like that's the thing that you're getting, and the ecosystem we have right now is lacking in 2/3 of the areas, right? Like the PvE folks are killing it, and then the poor Gambit people are dealing with the fact that their mode is basically abandoned, and also that they have to play Gambit. And then the Crucible people are still in the situation that they've been in for the better part of like 2 years, where there's not a ton of content geared toward them, and there's especially not any new content geared toward them. We have the promise of some new maps down the road, but none of that is in the game right now. So it's pretty minimal. Also, the sandbox it feels weird to critique. Like, you can't really play as Solar or Arc anymore because they're not on the 3.0 version, and that is weird. It's weird in Crucible when things get competitive, but it's also weird to see the lack of diversity in the open world. Everyone's using Void. Some people are using the Stasis, but no one's using Solar or Arc, and for a reason,
someone
right?
Drop a well and a strike, and I was like, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's so weird. Yeah. And I think that is a knock against the game, right? Like, currently the sandbox feels very unfinished, and like you have to play it a certain way to really play it right. And I think that's a fair criticism, but obviously they're going to change it. But right now we're kind of not really there. So I could go on. I have a fair amount of criticism about the game overall, but it's not really anything you guys haven't heard before, right? It's just the stuff that they haven't gotten around to fixing yet. But yeah, I don't have that much to say negative about the content I've played. The Witch Queen is great. I am sad that there's no secret secondary location. I was still hoping that there'd be something like that, but we'll see.
Stuff may happen after. I think some stuff may happen after the raid, but
yeah,
probably not a whole new location.
Yeah,
probably not a whole new.
The map is a lot bigger. That's another thing we haven't touched on. The map is a lot bigger than I think it looks. If you just look at the actual map with the 3 zones, there's only 1 drop point. It looks kind of like the Dreaming City, but it is huge in all the areas that you go to for the campaign, and you go back to for different missions and things, and they're different areas that unlock through the quests and stuff. So I think it is kind of deceptively large, and it's not just like, okay, we got a new Dreaming City section. I think it is more substantive than that. In terms of my critique, I may end up writing something about this. So I'm very appreciative of many aspects of crafting. Some things with crafting are kind of weird up front here. Like, this may change as the economy kind of evolves and stuff, but so I've already found myself I've hit the currency caps on all of the alloys, the base ones, so it's like 250 for each of those. And as far as I can tell, the only way you use those, I'm pretty sure, is for the advanced perks, or like sometimes you have to spend them for the Streaka Catalyst or something. But like, there's no other way to use those. And yet I have 2 Ascendant alloys, and I only just maybe unlock something that can maybe start farming them. So like, I can't use any of this capped currency that I capped in a day and a half here. And I'm like, do I put this stuff in my vault? And yet, like, the other currency that I need, the base one, the neutral element, I can't really get enough of that, and like, I don't have enough to craft everything I want for that, because I keep spending it on things, and like, even unlocking 1 new perk is about a weapon and a half of deep sight. There's a lot of like kind of weird and annoying RNG things with crafting. So like, they wanted to give, like, the crafting mechanic itself is not RNG, but so like, I need this Tarnation grenade launcher to progress one of the end quests forward. That drops from the whatever the activity's called.
Wellspring?
Wellspring. That drops from the Wellspring on maybe defend days. I'm not sure how that rotates, but it was dropping for the past day. But I not only need it to drop, where it's a pretty low chance of a drop, I'd say 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 times, but I also need it to drop with deep sight. And then I need the deep sight to be for the pattern, and then I have to get the pattern like 3 times or something. So it's like, it's still a good amount of RNG to even like get that baseline. And once I have that, like, great, okay, maybe I'm ready to go then. But getting that, at least for some of these weapons, feels a little bit odd. And then the final thing about crafting I'm finding a little weird is like it. So I got like essentially a god roll of the new pulse that can roll with it's Suros Pulse can roll with
Suros
Outlaw
Pulse.
Headstone. Yeah. And so I got that. It's like, I don't know, 4 out of 5 at least. And so I'm like, okay, do I need to craft this? And like, so technically you do need to craft it, because you're gonna want Enhanced Outlaw, an enhanced headstone.
Right.
But in order to do that, I would have to craft a Suros pulse rifle with garbage perks and only use that pulse rifle until I unlock Outlaw and Headstone. And if I'm playing with the Outlaw and Headstone one, I'm not making any progress at all toward my crafted one. So like it feels like all the weapons that are the same type should kind of contribute to the same pool somehow, but like it doesn't work like that. You have to stick with only the crafted ones. So what I'm finding now is like I have crafted versions of like 3 weapons on me at all times that are just truly terrible rolls until I can unlock the better rolled version of them. Even if I have another roll that is dropped already, that is a better roll than the one I'm using. So like it doesn't really mesh. Like the RNG of random drops that the game has always had doesn't quite fully mesh with this new crafting system. And like again, maybe this will get better as time goes on, but that's something I've noticed here at the beginning. Yeah,
that's one of the things I've noticed. I've kind of had a complaint about. The other thing is that you don't really get to choose your weapons in this expansion at all. Like whether you're using a deep sight weapon just to grind it up until you can grab the materials from it, or whether you're using a weapon that you crafted that has perks that you do not want, that you're just trying to get through 30 levels so that you can get the version that you want, right? Like it's so much grinding. You're like I constantly am finding that my loadout is not dictated by me. It's dictated by like what I need, right? So I'm like, all right, I have to use this glaive weapon because I'm trying to get it to 30. And then I've got a deep sight weapon up here. And then my power weapon is a crafted weapon. So I need to keep grinding out that level. And it's just like, when am I going to get to use the weapons I want?
You feel like you're wasting activities or you're wasting kills if you're using something that is not contributing.
I'm not wasting good kills without my blade. Kidding me? Yeah.
I will say in Legend, like I just threw that out the window. I'm like, I can't be using whatever deep. Like I actually have to have a loadout for Legend. So I guess maybe for like this does give a reason for lower level activities to be, to get something out of them. Like I could just run strikes for the sake of getting through all my deep set weapons or leveling stuff. Whereas before, running strikes literally had no purpose. So maybe there's some benefit there in that sense. But I do see what you're saying. And like, I do feel that too, where it's like, I'm always just using kind of this random hodgepodge of weapons, unless I'm like in a really difficult activity. I have to gear
sidearm, pulse rifle.
It's a little strange.
Sidearm, pulse rifle, grenade launcher, all with terrible perks. That's my loadout right now. It's like, all right, cool. Not using any special weapons.
The good news is to extract deep sight, it's like 2 activities essentially, and then you're done. But
I was gonna add. I know what mine is, and my gripe. We called it when we found out how masterworking was going to change. Bro, I am very upset with helmet armor right now, because it's like, I sit there and I've got a stasis build going, and I want to create orbs for my Aegis Scepter, and it costs 3. So now I got to decide, okay, am I going to have Scavenger on the other side? Because you want Scavenger. Then you got other perks that's associated, and you literally cannot fit all of that in those 2 boxes. And I hate not being able to choose. It that pigeonholed in there, and then the cost, correct me if I'm wrong, E, doesn't it vary based on, somebody told me, I don't know if it's correct, but someone told me it varies based on the subclass that you choose or whatever that. But if not, even if it doesn't,
Arc Solar and Void aren't going to cost any different.
Okay, so they all cost the same.
But there's certain things that are like hard. Yeah, there can be like kinetic, there can be harmonic that matches with your subclass. There are different styles as opposed to just like Void or something. I haven't really dug as much into those because I was like, I knew it was going to be.
It is worse. Like,
it is worse, 100%.
Like, I gave up on orbs. I had to switch to elemental.
And I think that might be what they're leaning to
manage it. Yeah, and I think that was kind of their goal too. So.
Yeah, I think the goal was to get us off, double scavenger, double finders, or whatever they're using.
Protective light got nerfed into the ground.
I took that off immediately. That was my build going in for the campaign, and then I'm like, oh, well, this is pointless. So
So like, I'm just curious because I haven't even really run it as much. Like, how much of a difference is it? How insignificant? Like, what's the major change with protective light?
It's down to 10%.
It's down to 10%. It was what 50% once you hit that low level. Wow. It was a big.
It was at least 40. It was 40.
Yeah, it was large, and it's down to 10%. And then they swapped in what is it? Font of Tenacity. It might be the one that gives you damage reduction if you pick up a certain well.
And
then you get that damage reduction for a certain time. But it's only at that moment. It's not when you need it in that clutch. Hey, I'm about to die. When you need it the most, it's like on demand if you want to be aggressive. Which in theory, if you're trying to push onto these Hive Guardians, I can see that having some kind of benefit if you got to go crush a ghost type thing. But on the other side, yeah, it is frustrating to see so much up potential in that helmet slot and know that you can't even really scratch all the surface. It's like I can be kind of a jack of some trades, absolute master of zero. I feel like I'm shooting myself in the toe by messing with any. It's weird.
And where my anger really hit its peak with that is that some of the artifact mods also go in that slot. Because there was some from making more using melee, and then you can generate more more power. Like it became this cycle of there's literally 4 to 5 useful, productive things in 2 slots, and I hate that I am so limited now. Like that part really got me mad.
I think it's the Foundry mods, the new Foundry mods for the artifacts. The ones that extend the timers on your Foundry perks are in the helmet slot too. So.
Yeah, I hadn't actually paid attention to where those go, but yeah, it's like honestly, most of what you guys have said is kind of touching. I'm hitting that point in weapon crafting. I think I'm on the exact same. You said the Tarnation. I need to craft those too, and I just hadn't quite looked into where it is. So we're almost at the same point. But I've seen people say the cap of the weapon crafting, the legendary alloys, not the exotic one, but it's only like 260 or something. There's 250 or something, and you're like. I get 12 every so often. Okay, I've been breaking some down, working on them. But then we don't have extra vault space. So then is there the point I'm going to have red weapons that are completed but not actually pulled the resource out of, just stockpiling in my vault so I have that stuff on demand if I need it?
I've wondered that too.
Yeah, I'm like...
I think it depends. I don't know what the neutral element cap is.
That's thousands, it seems like. So that's going to be big.
Right. So even if I'm not getting the plus 12 anymore, I've still been extracting just to get the 200 neutral because I really need a lot of that. But I can see a point where you're just going to get people stockpiling completed deep sites in the vault. And Lord knows we do not have room for that. So.
And the other issue is when you look at the enhanced perks, you want to get to these enhanced perks eventually. And you guys have described the issue. I'm sitting there like, okay, I got to use trash weapon for 20 levels or 40 activities or whatever this thing's going to be. Who knows how long that thing's going to take to unlock. So you're going to use junk. Is it worth spending extra currency on level 8 to get some of the perks?
Yeah, no, it is. I think it is.
I'll never do it. Yeah.
No, I absolutely think it is. It depends on the perks. But if you get the non-enhanced version of whatever enhanced version you're looking for, just get it. It's worth it. It is literally expensive. It's 300 currency. It is 1.5 deep site weapons, which is not a big deal, and it will make this much more bearable. When I put impulse amplifier on my glaive, for instance, I want advanced impulse, but that alone totally changed the whole concept of the glaive to me, and that was the best 300 neutral element I've ever spent.
Did that turn it into just a really fast projectile? It's just beast.
It's so fast. It feels like how I can't imagine using a glaive projectile without it now. That is. How much of a difference it is. So that was one example, and then I put Frenzy in the other slot, and that that was 600 neutral elements, so that's 3 deep sight weapons, and I'm almost level 20 now, so I can get to all the unlocked perks I want once I get more alloys, but I don't regret spending that to get to this point because of how much it made using that weapon in the interim a lot better. Because I had Unrelenting and the shield tilting windmills perk, and those don't do anything. That was not good. So
I'm waiting for level 30 on everything, and I'm close to
30 or 20. I thought it was 20.
It's 20.
I thought 20 is the last frame on
20 gets you the extra stat boost. 20 is where you cap out a weapon.
That's masterworking. I think is getting it to 20.
Level 30 at our new friend, which we'll talk about later, is a thing.
Is 30? Does that give you the ornament, the little Gambit thing?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. 30 gives you the ornament, and the ornament has special effects. I need to look this up because I thought you had to go.
I thought you had to go into Gambit. No, I thought you had to go into Gambit to actually earn it. It's not something you just unlock.
Yeah, you do, but you can't apply it to a weapon.
You can't apply it until you get 10 more levels.
Until you're maxed at whatever.
Okay, okay. Fully outside of cosmetics is 20.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's like crafting is exciting because I know there's a path. If I get a pulse rifle, the Soros pulse rifle, Stasis one, feeling pretty good. I'm like, I know there's a path where I eventually can get a good roll as opposed to having bad RNG for the next year,
Right.
which for me does have a lot of potential. But then on the other side, as you said, that it is a rather tedious process to get there. I did miss one thing as well. Hot take, and this kind of covers basically the other thing that you guys may have touched on. The Liz with a $5 super chat. Crucible and Gambit will have minimal changes over the next 2 years. PvE has higher ceiling for elite content. Higher ceiling for elite content. Bungie will lean into that. And honestly, I think that's what this is probably showing too. It's like, I know we got like a Gambit rework. I haven't touched Gambit. For those of you guys that have touched Gambit, how does it feel?
Minimal.
Expert Travis, continue.
I'm the expert. No,
Yeah,
Paul's
yeah.
talking about it. He loves Gambit.
Gambit. Okay. I mean, I played enough to get the Pinnacle on 2 characters, so that's 6 games. So the good things, I like what they did with the Primeval phase. There is less just like insta bursting of the Primeval now that you actually have to go. It's like Gambit Prime. You have to go around to the envoy locations and kill them, and it slows it down. It gives a little more chance for counterplay. There is less invasion, I'd say, overall. But when there is invasion, now everyone is getting heavy ammo at the end of every section that's cleared.
Yeah.
So the invader always has heavy whenever they need it. Some good changes are minor, like your dead teammates dropping half their motes is nice.
Okay.
That's pretty good. And it's interesting with Void 3.0 and how everything is chain volatile explosions everywhere. Sides are cleared almost by the time you can even like start getting over it. Like it, because everyone is running Void 3.0 and everyone has on like explosive whatever the fragment is. So those are just getting cleared out altogether. But it's just, they're good rules changes, but like, are they enough to be like, yeah, I really want to grind Gambit now? Like, probably not. What Gambit really needs is something like a significant shakeup, like the return of the Prime roles. Like they said a million years ago, they're going to make those mods. Yeah. Never happens. We are still -2 maps into Gambit now. They took 2 of the 6 maps away. So we need those back to start with, and we need more Gambit maps because like you can't have a core pillar mode with 4 maps. Like it just it gets and like they changed some of the enemy spawns, and like I was like surprised that Screeps are back now. That was an unpleasant thing to discover. But so it makes it a little less samey because there's more enemy biomes, but it's still Gambit. It just feels a little bit more like Prime now, I would say, and the Primeval being summoned first is not like a death sentence. Freelance is good because there's not 4 stacks highly coordinated to just burst it down instantly. But with everything else to do in the Witch Queen, like who's gonna be playing Gambit anytime seriously? And the reason, I'll play it in a couple months from now once I'm fully out of stuff to do, so I can earn the little trinket. But other than that,
I gotta agree with Paul. I think it's just not enough, right? Like clearly this is kind of them just dipping their toe into trying to address the Gambit issue, but it really isn't enough. And they've kind of been doing the same, very similar treatment to Crucible for a lot longer. In terms of the hot take that they will have minimal changes over the next 2 years, I think, probably, but I don't think that's good. I disagree with the saying that there's a higher ceiling for elite content, if I'm even understanding what that is supposed to mean correctly. But plenty of games use PvP and have a very high content for or very high ceiling for elite content. And in fact, some games are only PvP and do very, very well with that. I mean, Fortnite and Apex Legends and all those live service games do very well with it. I think the potential with those modes is simply just far less realized than PvE. People think of Destiny as a PvE first game, mostly because that's what it's been most successful at doing. That doesn't mean that should be how it is. That's that's thinking of it completely backwards. So thank you for the super chat. It only costs $4.99 to be wrong, I guess. So that's what I have to say to that commentary.
Encouraging those donations.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, shout out to the super chats. You guys are the rock stars. Travis, on the other hand, we got to talk. No, I'm just
That money didn't go to me. That's all I gotta say.
He's splitting up the five. Yo, I do got to get at them though. One thing, console, at least for me, Xbox. I don't know what happened with HDR, but it looks washed out, and many people are complaining. There is a major HDR dull color look. Now, some of my friends, because I'm playing on the OLED CX, and I remember how vibrant this game would look. Like, this game is beautiful. And I'm like, yo, why it look washed out? Now, some of my friends who are not on OLED, they're like, yo, it looks better. It looks great. So there's clearly some HDR tinkering, and I'm looking at the TWAB, and they talk about it. It's a bullet point. So I'm like, yes, because I knew I wasn't bugging. I was like, that game is a beautiful game, 4K HDR on OLED. So yeah, looks like they're working on the kinks, and I know we'll get into the TWAB, but I had to mention that for OLED owners. It does not look pretty right now.
Yeah, I will say for me on PC too, I've the long-term playing causing. Are you on PC, Paul?
I've done both.
Okay.
The PC menu stutter and lag is really rough. All of a sudden, I never experienced that. Like console, I've noticed a little slowdown as well, but on PC, it's like like hard glitching every time you kind of like go into your inventory, which is
apparently there's issues where you can roll back your NVIDIA drivers and help some of the issues with that, because the recent ones may have messed it up. But even for me, I'll be going on a Sparrow and I'll jump on and move, and I don't know if something doesn't quite catch up, but the whole screen is like off fuzzy while I'm driving on a Sparrow. Then if I slow down, it kind of like settles for a sec, and then I can go fast again too. But yeah, the slowdowns, I got to a point, and then people have said like the longer you play, if things are really starting to chug, close down the game, boot it back up, and you kind of like it. So I don't know if it's like a memory leak, but that I will say is like when you said like the bugginess on PC, I haven't messed with HDR because I've been streaming. I can't do both at the same time.
Right.
So I'll have to mess with that a little bit too, or maybe wait. I'll be curious to see. But at least for graphics drivers and stutters and memory leaks and stuff like that, that is kind of a little annoying to a point where you're like, kind of want to enjoy this one. And all of a sudden I'm looking at my screen and like, feels like my mind just like shifted half a degree. I'm like, hold on. So it's just this weird looking screen for a second. And that's the weird one I've seen. And I don't even know if it comes through on stream, but it's just this weird blur when I jump on a Sparrow quick and go. And that combined with like the menu, and I want to just, let me look at this thing in my menu, and everything's just taking longer and longer to load. That's been definitely an issue.
They definitely got some growing pains on initially with the launch of the smoke glitches. I know it's console specifically, loading up, going between weapons, waiting to see for the perks to pop up to see that there's that little bit of a chug there. So they're working through the growing pains for sure. They definitely got some issues there.
Yeah. So Season of the Risen, since we did talk about a lot of Witch Queen and kind of the big content drop, we did also get a new season. Not too much with relates to spoilery, so you can kind of go into what you want to talk about there, kind of the cinematic, what we're doing a little bit, and anything that you guys have experienced so far. The new Battlegrounds, PsyOps Battlegrounds.
There's only one so far.
Correct. Yeah,
I did one.
We don't have the roadmap, but I maybe there'll be one next week. I'm not sure.
There'll be 3, one for each of the subclasses.
The subclasses,
yeah, so that would make sense.
I mean, I'm happy to see Battlegrounds back. Battlegrounds were my favorite seasonal activity of last year.
Me too.
They do really great things with enemy density. This continues that, but with Hive. This is a little weird with the like whole transport you to the mindscape, and you fight Savathun clones, and like then there's tons and tons of enemies, but it's certainly fun. I thought it was funny in the beginning cutscene where Caiatl's like, "Hey, you killed all my dudes in the opening mission." I'm like, "Those were your dudes? Like what?"
Yeah,
why are
we didn't.
That's what I was saying. I was playing with Destin. I was like, "Why are we killing these Cabal? Aren't these Caiatl's people?" And he was like, "We have an alliance with Caiatl, Travis. Shut up." And then afterward, right after that, we went and played that mission. And she was like, "You killed my friends." And Destin was like, "Oh, I guess you're right." Yeah,
did a crime, but that was confusing. But the armor sets are really sick. Even the base armor sets are so good. I already translogged the Titan one. I haven't gotten a ton of the weapons yet, but so far they seem good. It's a little hard to tell. I'm still not even like fully familiar with every new perk and stuff. The ability of getting resilience and damage resistance on kill, that's a good foundry perk.
That's my joint. Yeah,
that's very good. So that's kind of a demonstration of what we're going to see. Every season is going to have one of these, presumably, for the seasonal weapons.
Yeah.
And I maintain they're going to bring back Black Armory weapons and put a foundry perk on that. I'm 100% sure about that. I don't know when, but there's not a whole lot really to go into the season yet, because it kind of hard's ending after the first Battlegrounds quest, and you're just sort of, you can grind levels and things, but it's time gated like most seasonal things are. So.
Yep. Yeah, same thing. I played it, played one of them. Pretty cool, nothing like mind blowing, but I did like the weapons. I got that what was it? The recurrent impact, the machine gun had that resilience trait. I love it, and now I think it's a 900, I believe.
Yeah, I think it is.
Real quick.
It feels good. I got headstone on it and perpetual motion.
Nice.
I'm rocking, bro. So I did a stasis build with that. The armor sets look good, but like it's the first thing when I went to the one table, I'm like, all right, let me see what I got to do to unlock. It's like week 2, you'll be able to do this, and I'm like, oh, here we go. It's we're gonna extend
quest
it.
steps. I think it's like 5 weeks though, not like the full 8 or whatever. It seems short because there's only. It seems like a shorter set of unlocks or things, and maybe it's just because obviously more goes into Witch Queen, but it's weird to only have, I don't know if it's just a few weeks of story or things shift in another direction.
But we're in step 7 of 28 after week 1. So
and then
presumably,
No, you're right. The consolidation of the Umbral Engrams within the helm I thought was interesting. Like now, before I'm so used to going to all the different or having the past active seasons, still listed. So that's gone. And now you have to page over, and then you can do, what is it? The Dreaming City Arsenal. There's another one for the armor. And then there's one that requires the special currency, which is the third. What's the third one name, Paul? You know what that third one? I forgot that name of that third.
It's whatever it's like a little cape. I forget what it's called. But it's the one to make seasonal weapons and armor. Right. But it's weird because there's that Umbral section, but then you go to Rahul, and Rahul's always like, hey, I can decrypt your Umbral engrams into nothing. Like, and every time you go to Rahul, that comes up. And I didn't realize that you could exit out of that engram screen, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, that's how I figured out you could buy Ascendant Alloy from him, because obviously I have a bunch of Umbral engrams at any time. So that's the first thing that comes up. So I don't really understand why they're letting him decrypt Umbral engrams, because he can't focus them.
It's because people were complaining that you
had to go to 2 separate locations.
Yeah, you have to go to 2 separate. And I was actually one of those people. I agree with it. And
but you can't focus them.
You can't focus them, which sort of defeats the entire purpose. But I will say
sometimes you just need to dump them out of your inventory.
I guess I deleted a bunch, so certainly,
Later in the season, you're going to be happy that that's a thing, because you're just going to want to get rid of stuff once you have
probably
your
true. Yes.
Yeah. I want to point out one thing. What do you guys feel about this shift from when you dismantle blues and now Gunsmith gets reputation?
It's his reputation.
How y'all guys feel about that?
It's better. It's bad because blues still exists, but
I'm swimming in blues.
It's better than collecting weapons parts and then dumping them for whatever. Like, it's good, I think, that it's a passive level up system. Like, I'm level 6 or 7 already, just not really even paying attention to it. And that's I think going to be a way to earn a guaranteed alloy every 16 levels, but that's a pretty decent amount of dismantling to get to that point. I don't know. I mean, it's better, but I still maintain we need auto dismantle blue. Like, once I hit 1500, it should be no more blues.
Even
because blues,
I know they can slot fill a little.
No,
bit
but I was like, but have
like,
the option to turn it off at 50. Have an option to turn it off, and at 1550, then you for sure never need another one, because
1550 is when they should turn it off for sure.
And then shout out to the Liz.
Turn it off at some point.
Shout out to the Liz coming back strong. By the way, wow, Trav. To elaborate, my opinion, there will be more dev time and effort geared for better and harder PvE content than PvP. Not slighting PvP elite players. We've been told major PvP updates with none. So,
see, you guys criticized me for being hard on the commenter, but look, I just tripled your money. So welcome, buddy.
That's playing against the house right there. Apparently, they win sometimes.
Clicking IOPs in there, man. Shout out to the Liz. Shout out to Black Eye.
Listen to the guy in the tux, I think, is the takeaway from this.
So you're the dealer tonight. Gotcha. Okay,
that's DJ.
Sorry. More like the waiter, but that's okay.
Okay.
I thank you for your comment. I understand, and I agree that will probably happen. PvE will always be their bread and butter, I think, especially with them making a different game that is probably going to mostly be PvP. It sounds like, just based on what we know about it. I think PvP and Gambit will probably always take a back seat. I don't think that that's wrong necessarily, but as a aspirational Destiny is the chosen one type of person. I would like it to one day be the ultimate package of PvP, PvE, and Gambit, and just be able to do all these things very successfully and have separate teams to support these on a more regular basis at the scale that they do with their PvE world. I would love that. Maybe I'm dreaming. They just got acquired by a big company, though, so who knows? Anything's possible.
Maybe in a couple years when this 10-year saga finishes up, you'll finally get a little PvP to let it live on a little while.
You're dreaming about a dedicated Gambit team, but...
yeah, that's probably a stretch.
You know what?
PvP, yes, but Gambit...
Listen, if Gambit
like
has
a
to die, if
Yeah.
Gambit has to die so I can get my dedicated PvP team, you know what? The Dredgen's going to have to fall on that sword for me.
Actually.
Yeah, so...
Sinister, what up?
Drifter's like, what happened? And Shax is like, goosh.
Keep Drifter, just...
Yeah.
I'm okay with no more Gambit, honestly.
Send his rock away. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Void 3.0, very good. Campaign, really enjoyed everything. Season of the Risen, seems like it has very cool potential. I'm enjoying how it was like, here. It was almost like the perfect time when you go through the story. There's this like kind of little level gap. I'm like, there's probably some stuff I should go do. And then you literally go check out that thing, do that, and you kind of come back and you're good. Like, so they kind of made that just a perfect little step to go talk. But when you got the few cinematics that we've had this time around, well, I'll save the big one for spoilers, but even the one with Caiatl,
Yes.
her detail, man, that is, I think her model is probably one that whoever put that thing together and then rendered that video out, that is probably almost the most detailed, I think, anything that we've seen rendered for a character probably in the cinematics. So her detail, her little armor chinks and everything are absolutely ridiculous.
So my problem is I just came from about 30 hours of Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh, okay, fine.
So
it's
it's hard. Like, Destiny's always, it's a beautiful game in many ways, but like there's still at this break point between cutscenes and then game dialogue. And so it's like when you have Ikora talking like with the mission, like only moving her mouth essentially.
Yeah.
And like comparing it to Horizon, like again, it's apples and oranges, but like I hope we can get to a place someday where like Destiny has that level of detail and still plays like Destiny. It might be the next console generation for all we know, but like,
are you implying a 3 on the number? Or are we implying a new engine?
No,
what are we implying?
And again, I think we're going to be at Destiny 2 for the rest of this console generation because we have 2 more expansions, and they've said that they're going to do more Destiny 2 stuff after that. That's the whole console generation. Yeah. So yes, I think Destiny 3 will arrive at some point, and it'll be probably right around PS6 and all that. So
whatever.
Curious everything's in the cloud and there's no more consoles anymore.
I was gonna say whatever Xbox names their next console because they always got to do something different. No, it's like that's no. See, it's not Series now. It's got to be a new name. Everything's got to have its own.
I think that's why they called it Series so that they can keep using it because that's what iPhone does.
So now you're going to be the Xbox Series
Neptune or something. Like they just they'll just do something completely.
And then the upgrade is Uranus.
It'll be S2 and X2, S3 and X3, just like iPhone.
Well, they're going to do more series before that. I think they'll do another like a Series A or something. But
PS5 plus.
Before we get into spoilers or whatever, can I take a brief aside to evangelize for our Lord and Savior, the Glaive?
Yes, this is the time. So our new weapon.
Listen up, everybody. Get in front of the congregation.
I'm probably going to put this all into an article tomorrow. But the Legendary campaign really reinforced my love for the versatility of the Glaive. I've seen it getting kind of a lot of crap. Someone even said it was impossible to beat Legends using the base Glaive. And I'm like, I literally just did it. But okay.
You had to upgrade it, though.
I only upgraded it in the last 2 missions out of 8. Like I was rocking the stupid tilting windmills perk forever. So a few things are required to make you a Glaive convert. And the first thing I mentioned earlier is Impulse Amplifier. This thing, it always feels a little clunky to shoot the Glaive thing. Like it's a projectile. It doesn't have like the best tracking or anything, but putting Impulse Amplifier on it, just it's almost instant. It makes it a rocket. And like Impulse Amplifier has always been an interesting perk on like grenade launchers and rocket launchers. It's kind of curious on bows. Like you can kind of notice it, but it's like maybe less so. Glaives, it's like the defining perk for Glaives, I think. And on top of that, it adds a bunch of reload speed as well, just in case you need more of that too. And then I paired that with Frenzy for damage and handling and more reload speed. And so that's like your baseline good glaive. I don't think people have really looked at the full suite of artifact mods this season.
Yeah,
because
that's
for
where
the
it's at.
long term future of glaives, we'll see. But there is a mod that is suppressing glaive, where every glaive shot will suppress an enemy, and that's insane. Like it's not just suppression is not just for Hive Guardians and stuff, although it does work beautifully on them. It blinds any enemy, which just for a long time, at least 5 seconds. There are other perks that extends the duration of suppression, and there is another perk that makes it's called suppressive darkness.
Yeah,
that makes suppressed enemies be weakened, and there is another perk that is no, it's not a perk. It's a fragment for 4.3.0, where every time you suppress an enemy, you gain mobility and auto reload your weapon.
Yep.
So you combine all of those things together, and you put that on one weapon, plus Unstoppable Glaive, if you want to have champions too. Plus,
they preach it. They preach it for you right now. They preach it for you. All hail the glaive. The glaive, they in here.
I was gonna say David with David James Oros, the glaive for the $2 super chat. Christopher,
now we can afford another tux.
Yeah, I think I gotta go get it. I gotta dress nicer next time. Christopher Sharp with the $100 super chat. All hail the glaive. Jeez.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm glad I made this pitch then. Jeez.
Yeah, Paul's preaching.
That is righteous. And then so the final piece is the intrinsic foundry perk of I guess it's just Witch Queen weapons or Throne World weapons, which is the Psycho something, where it reduces damage. So stabbing people with the glaive costs no ammo, first of all, and you can 2 or 3 shot most enemies. It's not like your boss DPS weapon, but it can do that. Stabbing people will activate suppression, so it'll blind them. It will also so it will weaken them, and it will also reduce their damage because of that psycho trait. So if they're not suppressed, if you don't have suppression on, they're still doing less damage output. And so what I found is it counters boss stomp in a lot of ways, where a boss stomp may not even break your shield if you're hacking at someone with a glaive and you have that active. And combine all these things together, and this is how the glaive carried me through the entire Legend campaign. Way, way more than I ever thought possible. And I didn't even mention the shield. I don't really use the shield, honestly. It's there, and I know some people are protecting their teammates. I genuinely just barely ever even used it, because the defensive capabilities of suppressing an enemy and lowering their damage output alone were enough to make it a good offensive defensive weapon. So really, really, really recommend you put those artifact mods on once you get there, and put Impulse Amplifier on it. You will like glaives. I can almost promise you.
Can I make a counter argument? Can I debate?
No, you can't.
Oh, here we go.
No, the church is over. And
let me make a counter argument.
The congregation can now leave.
I'm pretty aggressively against the glaive. Sorry, I just heard Christopher Sharp gave me $100. I am for the glaive. The glaive is great.
We got to pay everyone to love the glaive.
Shout out to
Travis has officially been purchased by Mr. Sharp. It has been confirmed. Tombstone will read. Check with Mr. Sharp.
No, I also like the glaive. I've been using it. I've been using it pretty regularly through the campaign. So no complaints here. I do think it'll probably be useless in PvP, but time will tell.
I heard somebody on Twitter literally was like, the glaive is great. PvP? No, I watched somebody on Twitter just be like, it's probably not the greatest, but it's hilarious trying to watch 2 people stab each other. Just like the animation.
Hit registration is terrible.
Yeah.
PvP melee, so that's not going to be good.
Now, boy, you're on fire, because it's like literally one of the things with a new season with me, I always get excited is I go through that artifact. You go right over to the last 2 columns. Okay, what are they trying to get me to play? And I looked at that suppression. I was like, yo. And then you got glaive scavenger. You got it's literally built for it. I mean, obviously there's some other cool ones. I believe there's like a suppressive one is in there. There's a couple other cool ones in there, but it's really influencing you to utilize this weapon. And yeah, I'm with you, man. I got to use it a little bit more. But I was
At
just
least for
upset
this
'cause-
season. Maybe
For
once
this season.
suppression's
Yeah.
off.
This season,
it
that's
won't
what I was
be
this
gonna
really
say.
season
good,
it's going to be
but
strong. Yeah. And
And-
then
and-
it's
yeah.
too good with suppression right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
in typical Bungie fashion, like they generally try to nudge you and encourage you towards the new, weapon or the new thing, that mechanic that they've introduced. But yeah, you have to at least try and use it, and the effectiveness is it's off the chain.
Also, just a quick second recommendation. Absolutely start experimenting with exotic primaries again. Like,
Oh,
I know
God,
that was
yes.
not the most heralded change, but like,
Graviton.
yeah,
Wait, how is it
Graviton.
really?
I
Crazy.
use Outbreak for the entire Legend run.
Yeah.
Like, it just
Yeah, Outbreak 6.
clears red bars. The new Osteostriga
Oh,
Mhm.
Osteo is
demolishes
just
everything. Like, it's a
melted.
40% buff across the board, and like
Bro.
almost all of the like pretty okay weapons from before are now just insane. So I would experiment with those.
Can
for
we
sure, and
talk
don't just
about
have Galaborn on
Osteostriga
all
for
the
a
time.
second? Have you guys used that thing?
Yes.
My boy has.
Okay.
I heard.
I'm
Great.
trying to get the catalyst, but yes, it is. Even
Yeah.
without it, it's crazy.
It was like, this is, if you have the, what is it? Is it only part of the deluxe edition though? Is that correct
It
right
is.
now?
Yes.
Okay. So have to have the deluxe, have to have the season pass, which basically all comes together. So if you don't have it, I am sorry. That's going to be a thing. But I will tell you, when you just start shooting and then just all the ads in a small circle, they just melt. They just kind of wither away and die. You can just unload. You can look at a boss with a machine gun. It doesn't matter what you're looking at with that thing. 2 clips will kill most every boss I've probably faced. Groups of ads die. Like, I shot like 3 bullets because I was actually trying to get precision kills with Osteostriga. So I'm like, 1 bullet. Okay, that's a headshot. 1 bullet, headshot. 1 more bullet, everybody died. Like, when you got the kill, everything dies near it. That thing for ad clearing, probably in the raid especially, is going to be ludicrous. So having somebody with that on alone is going to be massively beneficial, I think.
Transition addict. I shout out shout out to my boy Gabe Addict. He's in here, Lord Addict in the building.
What up, Addict?
Big raid question. So what are we thinking? First of all, what are you thinking raid minimum? And then what are you going in there with?
I mean,
That's-
We
contest
don't
could
know
be.
the raid minimum yet.
We still
Is it
don't.
gonna-
It's not in the TWAB.
No,
it.
they don't put it in the 12.
I gotta assume it'll be 1550 then if they haven't said it.
I would guess it's probably 1520 because it's not going to matter. It's just contest.
Yeah, I think because it's contest, it won't really
Like
matter.
1520,
They'll probably have it
1530, cup,
1520,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, then
20
I hope
levels
it's
below.
1350, so Blues, who just turned on the game, can go in.
Oh man,
That would be,
Um,
here's your first experience. You take 6 people who have never played Destiny and plop them into a raid and just say, if you can finish this, you each get a Lamborghini, but you have 24 hours. Go.
So
no
this
way.
I was like, that's Mr. Beast. Go ahead. You can take that one.
Go for
my
it.
my guess is that the raid, we know the raid is taking, this is not a spoiler, but we know the raid is taking place inside the pyramid that is inside Savathun's throne world, which is not an actual pyramid, but rather a mental representation of Savathun's time with the witness. And my guess is that the raid is going to have at least some involvement in the final trailer you see in the campaign, going with it without going to spoilers. I think
Should we go into spoilers now? I feel like it
I was
might
going
be.
to
we
say,
should.
like, I was
Maybe
going
we
to say,
should.
so,
Raid and
yeah.
special boss. Yeah,
yeah. So at this point, we are about an hour and 20 minutes in. So we're going to open up to spoilers. We can go through basically all the story beats. We can go through the campaign
Hold on.
missions.
Breaking news.
What?
Bungie, raid date March 5th, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Raid power for
Ah.
contest mode 1530. More
Look at that.
details next week.
Beautiful. I'm already there.
Where is that?
1530 addict.
Where'd that
I'm
pop?
almost
It's up
1540
on the
right
official
now.
Bungie Twitter account.
Beautiful.
Like, oops, you
Alright.
forgot to put this in the TWAB.
Yeah, I'm like,
Put
seriously,
it
how
in
do you not? There it is, yeah.
So I'm already geared up then,
1530,
guys.
there we go. We were right. Yeah, it was like
My job's
1530.
done. I can go play
I mean,
Elden Ring.
That's
until
easy.
the raid.
Ugh.
Even if you're doing the campaign on normal, even you'll be 1530 by then. Honestly,
Yeah,
like,
easily.
Yeah, without even trying.
Mhm.
So that's cool. But yeah, spoilers at this point. Everything that we're going to open up at this point is everything that we pretty much all experienced. I know Cog finished the campaign, so I was glad to see you got that one. So we're going to go through all campaign, story beats, speculation about raid. All of that stuff is going to be on the table now. So if you
I
have
haven't
enjoyed
played
the
campaign yet, by the way.
baloney, that's big lies.
Nonsense.
You haven't played it with like an arm tied behind your back on your other characters, maybe, but that's
his
about it.
worst build
Yeah.
with PvP.
If you want to save this part of the podcast, or you want to just check out now and maybe kind of come back after other things, now is the time to follow all these amazing people: Ty Guy Travis, LordCognito, Iron Lord's Paul, Iron Lords podcast. Almost just combined you two together. Paul Tassi on Twitter, Forbes articles, and of course on his exploding YouTube channel. All of those things, go follow, subscribe, like, and donate to all of these wonderful people. And you can look at the Forbes articles without the ads now and the subscription. So that was a huge victory for this.
No,
man.
there's still ads, just no pay.
No, yeah, ads are everywhere. I'm sorry, ads are everywhere.
Still, yes.
You just don't have to pay for it. And next time we hear from Paul Tassi, because he's a friend of the show and comes by every so often, his house may be a little fuller by the time that comes around. So before we get into spoilers, I did want to touch on that. How far are you away?
Almost exactly a month from the due date.
Okay, nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Paul Tassi, family planning spoilers.
Sorry, we didn't make that clear, but yeah. So just a month now, and we're buying all the things and painting the nursery and all that stuff. So yeah, good times.
Are you
And,
actually painting the
Evie's
nursery?
very just unsettled with what's going on. She knows something's happening, but
That is one of those things
Well-
about like dogs. We'll pack up for vacation, have our bags by the door like the night before, and you can just tell there's something going on. But I'm sure. Are you actually painting the nursery?
someone is painting the nursery who I am paying to paint the nursery.
Hey, there you go.
Well, you know what, Paul? I have to say this about you as a father.
Okay.
Having a child is sort of like the ultimate live service game. And who better equipped to handle that task than the games as a service master himself, Paul Tassi.
Well, thank you.
That's
I
what I
appreciate
do.
his faith in me. I gotta really gotta raise his light level and
Yeah, every year is a
properly
season
gear
pass.
up and
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotta gear them up.
So many fun metaphors that we'll be having on Twitter and be like, how's his light level? He's like, he's 7. It's insane.
7 light.
7
So
light.
low. Yeah, he's not raid ready.
He's definitely not raid ready.
Definitely not raid ready.
Okay. Well, on that note, we are going to go into spoiler territory at this point. So if you are looking to duck out now, we definitely appreciate all the viewers who have been here so far. If you're ready for the spoilers, then this is that time. Where do you guys want to start? Do you guys want to just work our way kind of through the story that we got?
They did it, guys. This is the thing I've been most excited to talk about. They told a good story in Destiny.
Oh.
I didn't know it was
Did,
possible. This is the first time in my estimation, because for all the things the Taken King was, it was a great. It did a lot for Destiny as a sandbox and as a game, but it didn't do a lot for Destiny as a story, in my opinion. It just sort of like gave you a baddie that was more intimidating than the no villain that existed in Destiny Vanilla and let you kill him. But this one was like, it had twists. It had us turning the tables on him and or on the Witch Queen and learning the truth about what's going on. It had cutscenes and references to Fundament, and it was just so good. I will say the only thing I'm upset about is they killed. We talked about this for so long.
I thought about you, bro.
They did kill her. I was very disappointed. Granted, the ghost got away, so there's always.
You think she's dead? No,
we know she's not dead.
We
know
she's dead.
I don't know. I
is
think
dead, but like they left it open so she can be resurrected.
Anyway,
She will be.
So I talked to somebody about this. I had a very similar conversation, and my counter argument to that is yes, but that is true of everyone in Destiny. Everyone that we've killed could come back. All of them. Like there's not even fiction. One. It's
you
true.
could always write resurrections back somehow.
Yeah.
If you really want to. I think they did this so the campaign would have a conclusive ending that feels like you accomplished something. Because if you shot her and she just teleported away again, like laughing, that would not have been a satisfying ending. So I think having her at least temporarily dead was the right call. But I do not think this is going to be an Aramis situation where it's like maybe Aramis will come back and then she's frozen forever and nothing ever happens to Aramis again. They have invested too much into Savathun. And like there's even Savathun starts talking to you in the post mission. She's like, I recorded all these voicemails before my death. Like
no, I agree. I think it's purposely done. They wanted to they told the line of wanting to give a satisfying campaign. And to their credit, Trav, I give, even though we laugh about the hi-ya ooga booga moments where we just go in there and slap and that's it. To their credit, they built her up. I'm just talking about from the fighting standpoint.
Yeah.
The sheer amount of encounter. And I'm gonna tell you one thing. I got goosebumps when you go up that staircase and that the gong.
Yep.
And bro, it was
Very
some
good.
Dark Souls, Eye of Sauron vibe going up in there. And I'm like, okay. And then when I beat that, I'm like, all right, that was intense. You know, we was running around and hiding in a little corner, you know, try to DPS her down. Then the Hive Guardians come out. And then you go to the next sequence, and that was the witches. But to the story, where it really resonated with me was how they really told the story of the Hive and the lie. The lie really hit me because all this time, because, you know, they had that internal battle, especially Zavala. He's like, yo, this is BS. Like everything he was led to believe, he's now questioning. Like, yo, why would the Travelers do this? And Akara's like, yo, I don't even care why. We have to protect humanity at this point, you know, kind of thing. But I just thought it was interesting that the Hive got a little bit of a redemption arc, slightly, that they were tricked.
They could, yeah, but the thing is, like, so this is the problem that I do have with them killing, them essentially killing her off, right? Is that they sort of set up the redemption arc, and there were a lot of things leading toward it, and including Savathun seemingly not really having a ton of evil intention. It almost seemed like she was trying to help us or be on our side, had a relationship with the Traveler, all of that stuff. And then at the end, you get that monologue from your ghost where he's like, look, you guys killed everyone. Like, I'll never forget all the stuff that you guys did. Like, you're irredeemable. And then you sort of just go with that. And I kind of thought, like, to me, Zavala's being short-sighted. Like,
yeah.
The Traveler chose the Hive because he believes, I think, that the Traveler's point of view is that the Hive can be redeemed and that people can be worthy even if, you know, all the evil and that they were betrayed themselves and that they had a shot at redemption. So to me, it was like a story of redemption where we sort of like overrode it with our own actions. And at the last moment, we're like, no, actually, we're not going to let that happen. We're just going to kill you. So maybe they'll change that down the road. But I was a little disappointed at that choice to just be like, nah, you know what? You're still evil. You're done.
Paul's credit, because I watched your video, Paul, in reference to your initial reaction after it. Isn't there lore going on after that post, you know, when I think it's still that exotic quest or whatever, that you find out that she somehow protected the traveler earlier, right?
Yes.
So again, the choice was made. She was given the light, and I still think that the redemption arc is there. I think they're clearly bringing her back, but for the sake of a satisfying campaign, we're gonna just do this for right now, and the ghost is gonna go away. But I'm curious, Ian and Trav and Paul, on your thoughts on that whole part. The lie. Clearly, we got to talk about the witness because that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so excited about the witness.
Got to talk about the witness, but I want Ian and Paul as far as the Hive and where they sit with you now. Like, how does that feel now?
So I had some inklings of this kind of going into the campaign because in the lore for the collector's edition, they're talking about how the ghosts feel bad for the Hive and they think they've been taken advantage of by the darkness. I didn't realize that would lead to the big reveal of the lie. But that is, at first I was very satisfied to learn that my theory beforehand that the Hive ghosts had chosen to work with the Hive, that they weren't like enslaved. That was revealed in like mission 2 or something. Yeah. And you're like, wait, so if they chose this, then like, what does that mean about the Traveler? And then so like you're going and like, I had my suspicions. I at least brought up the possibility before launch that the Traveler had given Savathun the light willingly, because I didn't really buy that. With how good Bungie's storytelling has been recently, I didn't buy it was going to be like, Savathun studied void.
No way.
No way.
Exactly.
No
like
way.
figured out how to siphon it from there. And like,
they had me fooled though with the Segura thing. They had me fooled in the beginning.
With the what?
With Segura's
thing.
light mission, I was fooled that like she figured out some way, and I was gonna roll my eyes. And then when they didn't do that, I was so relieved. Continue, Paul.
I mean, she kind of did. Like, I think she did glean a lot of stuff from her time as Osiris in terms of what makes Guardians worthy of the light when like other races maybe aren't, or in the same way. So I think that was partially true in that she learned from Ikora and the Vanguard and things like that. But it wasn't like she found like, this is the secret formula to light or something. Like, that would have been really lame, and I'm glad they didn't do that. So like, I was thrilled with the cutscene on the cliff. That was the witness is great for other reasons, but like the cutscene on the cliff where it was a gamble for her. She didn't know if that would work. And she was like kind of putting it all on the line. And so this creates a really interesting situation where there were two forces that are both kind of being selfish for their own reasons. So Savathun got the light, but in service of that, she protected the Traveler, in theory, by transporting the Traveler to her throne world, where presumably the darkness couldn't reach it. I have my doubts that that's true, considering all the darkness
for
influences.
I was like, and there's a pyramid in there, but yeah.
I was like,
might make it harder though.
Right. So she got the light and got rid of her worm and stuff, and the Traveler got protection, whereas we're scared we're going to lose our light. So our plan is, even if Savathun is technically protecting the Traveler, we're essentially doing what Ikora said. We're like, it doesn't matter. Like, if we let her take that, we're going to be super vulnerable to literally everything, and we're going to go extinct. So we are essentially choosing ourselves over the Traveler, and like, will the Traveler punish us for that or something? I don't know.
Lightfall.
How the Traveler's doing. Yeah, maybe. And I mean, we're coming to the end of this Light and Dark saga in 2 years, so something like that is going to have to happen. Like, the Traveler is probably not going to be around forever. Right. But I thought this was a really interesting kind of moral quandary set up between Guardians and Savathun and the Traveler, and then kind of the X factor is the darkness itself and the Witness and what it actually wants and things like that. But Savathun, I think, is the best characterized character in all of Destiny. In the past year, like lore before that, and then now what we saw realized with her storyline, this was just such a non-traditional thing. Like, Aramis, even as recently, Beyond Light had an okay story, but it was like Aramis made a deal with the darkness to get power, and like she's mad at the Traveler because the Traveler abandoned the Elixir.
Yep.
It's fine. It's a good story, but it's pretty straightforward. Whereas this was like all over the place, both in terms of like figuring out mysteries within Savathun's story and then learning just huge things about the entire scope of Destiny lore that we'd never experienced before. So I thought they did a phenomenal job with that.
I gotta hear it, man. Where you at?
I mean, I was constantly blown away, and honestly just getting a fact of like trying to keep up with some of the lore before. Bife's Dynasty, little teaser beforehand, couldn't have been more perfect. Shout out to Bife, by the way. If you guys, I know everybody knows who Bife is, but the Dynasty video had like a copyright strike takedown. It's back up. If you know anything about YouTube, that like kills an algorithm really bad. So go blow that video up again, because there's so much work put into that thing. Some of the cinematics they did, I was just like, damn. They're really, really good. But shout out Necromancer. Feel Destiny suffers from not have a true opposition to the Guardian. Fallen Cabal feel more like ally material. Hive and Vex are controlled. Doesn't feel like we have an actual opposition to the Guardians.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a problem with Destiny forever, and I was frankly hoping that we would finally solve that now. Right? Like, because we've talked about not having a standing villain for so long, and it seems like we still don't, because even if Savathun comes back, she's not really a true villain to us at this point. At this point, she's more of a gray character who is always putting herself first, as you would expect her to. So it's a little odd, but it sounds like we finally did get one. If you beat the campaign, Necromancer, I don't think the Witness is joining the Fast and Furious family anytime soon. I don't think that's happening. So yeah.
But yeah, it's like, anyway. We'll get to the Witness in a second.
I love that.
Yeah, that was perfect. Fast and Furious, Avengers family.
They do the same thing. A villain always at the end gets converted, right? So
they tend to recruit them in. But no, I mean, for me, it was very interesting going into this expansion that we had the interactive trailer going all the way back to Fundament. And the only time I'd ever heard about Fundament, because I never read the Books of Sorrow, was like a Bife video to actually figure out how everything started. And I was hadn't really thought about it, but it makes a lot of sense, because they've never given that much backstory to anybody that much in our face for any reason. And when you play through the campaign and then you figure out about the lie that far back in Fundament, and they're basically just, the lie was there to drive the Proto-Hive away from the Traveler in the very beginning, to drive them into the deep, to drive them down to the worms. Like, the fact that whole thing from the Book of Sorrows was set up that much, and the lie may have been something maybe they retconned it later, maybe they put it in later because maybe that wasn't totally like a thing. But the fact that we have that much history, I mean, as Paul said perfectly, we have never had a character like this, because we don't have characters that have histories. Guardians are all scratched. Like, we all start from scratch and go forward. There's nothing behind us. And the Hive from this race, who they were before, go down into the deep, and then you get to see the Leviathan that I'm actually thinking of Bife's video now. I got those confused from the history, but yeah, go watch it because it's really good. But knowing that we went that far back, that she has this history, that she was told, that she was questioning what was going on, it's like, tell me, and to see her motivation. And then the craziest part is when you walk in with the bell, as you were saying, and you look up.
Yes.
I'm like,
yes.
I'm sitting here looking up in like the reel, but I was like, I panned my camera upwards in the game and I look up, and it was just, it blew me away to see this, because we've never been that close to it either.
Close to it. Yeah.
I was like, the bell swinging, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that from the trailer. And then I looked up, I was like, holy crap. It was a moment to see what was going on. And then you're kind of working on the spells in the background. And that goes into this whole campaign, is everything that's going on, whether it's the spells over the travel. Okay, now you got to kind of warp around, pick the right door to make sure you're going through so many things in the campaign with the mechanics, the way you got to them, kept hanging off with a story beat, or here's another cool mechanic, or here's this puzzle in the darkness. And to me, just like the traveler moment and the bell, and then finally when you get done, and then the bridge appears, and that is a long walk across that bridge.
Yes.
To finally actually get to, there's a lot that goes into that. And you finally get over there. I died a few times over there because that's a little hard on solo, and eventually figured it out. And I was like, I wasn't sure if we were actually going to kill her. And that was the thing. I was like, she's got a massive health bar. This is a legit boss fight. And I think you guys phrased it correctly, because anybody who goes through the campaign, they may not do the raid. They get the teaser of the witness, which we'll talk about in a sec, but the fact that they go through the campaign and they get this conclusion, but there's enough mystery, even if you don't know too much else around it, there's enough kind of mystery where she's be careful what you wish for and stuff, that they left it right but satisfying, it's a delicate line to walk, and I think they did it very, very well. And for Destiny, miles beyond any campaign before, but for me, it's like, for a first-person shooter campaign, it was something else to be in your character, watching that, killing Savathun, and then just being left in that perfect is she dead moment. It was done very well to me personally.
She's dead.
Absolutely. Also, I want to
give
I want to give out 2 shout outs. Obviously, we talked about our boy. What's our Hive Ghost? He's hilarious. He's absolutely hilarious. Like
Finch, that's my new favorite character.
Oh yeah, Finch is
hilarious. The whole in the beginning, the trusting, the not trusting. Then why he ain't resin the high.
That's so funny.
I love that.
That's my favorite visual joke in the whole game. Is his dead.
Every time I see it, I laugh.
I laugh. Like, it is so funny. And you're establishing this relationship, and you're like, okay, this is cool. You try to gain trust, and then you go in. I thought it was cool throwbacks to Oryx. You know what I'm saying? And no mention of Xivu. Not much in Xivu in this one. I thought she would be a little bit more.
We did get to see her represented, not the right word, represented once with the 3 in that little cutscene. That's the first time we've seen Xivu at all,
but they didn't really talk about it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Before I pass it to y'all, I'm gonna let y'all go on the witness. I have to. And my boy DJ, ILP Clan, you in there? Got to give a rest in peace shout out officially now. My boy, y'all said it wasn't gonna happen, but if y'all read the lore, have y'all read the lore in the? Yeah, it's official.
Oh, he died.
Travis is shaking his head. Travis, did you read it, Trav? Did you read it?
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, what you guys got to do is when you beat the campaign. It's one of the lore books. I forgot. All I know, the color of it is red, and it's like Martian missives or something like that. Please read it. I'm gonna spoil it now. So I had told people I was very concerned when at the end of Season of the Lost, when we would do the exchange for Osiris. On my mind, there was no way, right? She's giving him back alive. So we get it. The seed ends. And it's basically, oh yeah, they confirmed it's him. He's Saint takes him back to the ship. The whole thing. I'll wait till he wakes up. I'll be the first he sees. Blah blah blah. We get the Martian missive. Caiatl sends a message to the Vanguard. We found human remains on Nessus. This matches the real Osiris. I don't know what you guys have based on Cabal technology. We have confirmed his remains are here. This is him. Then there's a message from Osiris that he sent pre-death that goes, look, he tells to the Guardian, I know Zavala and Ikora mean well, but they think in the moment. I've always been a person that thinks of the infinite future and all this other stuff of what could happen. I willingly gave myself to Savathun, to sacrifice to Savathun so she could learn. Yes, it blew my bro. Willingly, because the greater mystery is out there. I guess he's talking maybe witness in the darkness. Right. So he is dead. Whoever's in Saintship ain't Osiris.
I disagree.
I'm loading this up immediately.
I think that both things are true.
I can't load it up. I'll have to take your guess work.
I think both things are true, Cog. I think that Osiris is dead and Osiris isn't there. I mean,
it's a time travel thing, right? It's gotta be a time travel thing.
It's a time travel thing, or it's a different Osiris from a different timeline, which we now know exists. So I think they're both true. I think Savathun took Osiris from a place where he was alive and gave him to us, but who knows if he'll be our Osiris. So yeah, that was a really cool lore, but I don't know if it changes much, because if we're still gonna have Osiris in the game, like, you know.
I don't know. We gotta see. Read that lore book. It's the Martian Message. I know the book color is red.
Yeah, Osiris is the first entry.
Yes.
This is before Savathun took him. Okay.
Yeah, you got to read that. And then there's if you continue on, there's a Caiatl message. I believe it's the second part of that book. And I was like, wow, okay. This is getting deep right here. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And again, the game, what I love about it is when you beat the story, it's still more to do. And then we even talk about Marvel. But I want to give it to Trav. Like, Trav, because I know you got a lot to say about, you know what I'm saying? We got to talk about the witness. We got to talk about Ace. Let's get to it.
Yeah. So one more thing about the campaign before we move on. We've also talked about, like, basically the ending of the campaign, which was fantastic and so well done. Whether or not you agree with them killing Savathun, it was absolutely like a great journey to get there.
I will say, like, we didn't want them to kill her, but they couldn't have done it any better, I don't think.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's my thing, is like the journey to where they got was fantastic. It still doesn't fix the problem of Destiny not really having an ongoing villain, but I feel like now they have the opportunity to build up the witness for the next 2 years, and I'm sure that they'll do that. But the other thing is, along the campaign, there were also other story beats that were so fantastic. Like learning that Savathun didn't remember who she was when she got resurrected, and like that she used us to help her remember. Like that was a great story beat. There were just so many beats that were fantastic.
I'm slightly confused about that one though, because like when Crow was resurrected, he was like a totally different person with like no memories. So like, I get that she forgot like those key events that we reminded her of, but like she was still like flying around her throne world, like attacking us, and like
she wasn't just like a brand new baby clean slate.
Like, well, we don't know that for sure, because I don't think we ever see Savathun not in an elusive form until the very end of the game. That's at least my understanding. And so I'm thinking that maybe she created false versions of herself to go on like a predetermined path while she sort of was hiding out somewhere trying to figure things out. That's my guess. I need to
examine it more carefully.
Yeah, I think there's probably lore for it, but either way, it was a cool reveal, because I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that rule. She shouldn't remember anything if she was actually rezzed. So that was fantastic. But let's talk about the coolest part of the story, in my opinion, which is the extra cutscene we got at the end. They introduced the witness properly. For those of you who have been reading lore, the witness has been a character forever in the game of the final shape. He is on the side of the darkness. Also a collector of civilizations, as you can see in the trailer. And I think this is without a doubt like the final boss. Or is this the final boss, or is this
like the final shapes?
It says it's not darkness itself. It's someone who wears darkness like a cloak or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I am also a little confused about whether this is like Lieutenant Darkness or like Boss Darkness. I think it's
Lieutenant
Darkness. Like
you do.
I think so, but like I also kind of maintained that like my theory before this was that the Darkness wouldn't have a fixed form, like it wouldn't be a new looking alien race. It would like take over Ikora or someone, but clearly that is not true, because there is this new, entirely unique looking. Like I would assume he is maybe part of a race of other people that look like that, or maybe not, because they there's also lore about how the darkness would be like a singular entity and it wouldn't have like a bunch of light bearers like
What's with
like
his head that
Traveler
never
does.
ends?
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the character design. So I love the Silent Hill like smoke head thing. That was extremely cool.
Also
I don't
disrespectful.
love
The
the,
anime
like,
eyes.
the very anime, very like, Pixar looking.
Oh,
It just
damn, Paul, come
the
on,
character,
be
like,
nice.
Destiny has such good character design in like every other aspect that like that was just really. It was such like a big reveal moment too. It's the first new race in all of Destiny history, and it's like.
Oh, we got the
like,
Taken, kind of.
They
Scorn.
don't count. They're reskins.
Scorn?
They don't count either. They're just
Okay.
You're right. I give him that.
But like, so the design was off-putting to me. I like the cutscene. I think it's a huge story moment. I like the Witness introduced as a character, but again, maybe we just need to see him out of a cutscene, or maybe he wears a helmet most of the time. I don't know.
Helmet.
We've got to keep all that going
No.
on.
Paul, I'm gonna repeat your words back to you and try to make an argument for this, because I generally agree with you, but I've debated this with other people since, and I'm kind of in the middle now. You said that you were unsettled by its appearance, and I kind of think that's what they were going for. Not necessarily scary or relatable, but something that you couldn't really even like nail down because it's so foreign. And that's always been the Darkness's vibe. And I kind of like that you're just like, okay, what's up with this person? Like, they seem to like move in a different way from time, where like you see their hands move like irregularly. You see that weird head thing that's like an incomprehensible kind of smoke up for a face. And then even the eyes aren't really what you're expecting. When you see the face, the face is like a cartoonish mirror of like a human's face. And the first thing that I thought was, that's kind of a weird face. And then I thought on it more, and I was like, it kind of bothered me. And I think maybe that's what they were going for. They didn't want it to be another big scary monster. They kind of wanted it to.
That's not what I mean, though. Like, it felt like a different art style entirely than Destiny. Like, it felt like it was like Clone Wars animation in Destiny. You know what I mean? Like,
because it was cartoony. It was anime.
It's like more cartoony. Like that, the eyes just do that. It's more cartoony in a way that we haven't seen from Destiny before. But I agree. All the other things you're talking about, the time and the smoke head, it has two different voice tracks. There's a male and female voice track playing simultaneously, which I think is interesting. But like all of that was great. It's just the look. I don't know. Again, we will see more of it in the future, but it didn't really match to me all of the pyramid architecture and stuff we've seen. Like, I didn't even think we'd see its face. Honestly, I thought it would just be like a
just the back.
Like, I was surprised to actually see this eyes. So
I wasn't expecting them to turn around either. But I don't know. I will still challenge that, like, the fact that it goes against the art style and goes against what you're saying, and like all that stuff. I still think there's an advantage there in like just it makes you ask so many questions. I feel like that. I don't know.
What if it's from Bungie's new IP? That's their new art style.
That's the cinematic. That's actually not the that's not the Witness. That we put the wrong cinematic in. Sorry, guys.
I kind of don't think it's going to be Lieutenant Darkness. I kind of think it's going to be Boss Darkness, because my impression is the same as yours, Paul, as a fellow lore guy. I don't think the Darkness has a boss. I think the Darkness just is, right? Like, even the Traveler, I don't think is the light, really. It's just like, it's kind of the equivalent of what the Witness is for the Darkness. It wears the light like a cloak, in the same way that the Witness wears the dark. And so I think at some point, both of these characters have to be taken out so that we can continue to use light and darkness freely, and the sandbox of Destiny can continue without destroying the sources of these powers. And so I think that the Witness is Thanos in this MCU-like world they're building, and I think the Traveler is the other end of that. And I think probably the Traveler dies in Lightfall, the Witness dies in the final shape, and then we get both kind of forms of power.
So no Witness is raid boss, huh?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Honestly,
they're already setting up a Witness as lieutenant. Actually, it's in one of the side quests that happens afterward, where they talk about kind of like a second person there. Did you guys play that mission yet?
Which one? Which
I can't remember. I've played so much Destiny. I can't remember which one it is. But blurry. They introduce another character that's like, this is the.
I assume it's going to be Scorn. I mean, it's a Scorn raid
Yeah, the
mostly,
raid
I
It
think.
feels
So,
like it's going to be because they're the other
some
side of
Scorn
this.
monster
I think
thing.
they're gonna bait and switch. I think the first half will be Scorn because they're like attacking, and then I think the second half we get a preview of the new mob. That's what I think. If that
I hope so.
happens,
I would
just
love
think
that. I would
I've been
love
let down.
that.
I think by the last couple of raid bosses, like I could have sworn that Cloak Spray would be the boss of Deep
Yep.
Jump Crypt.
Yeah.
And then I saw
And then it was Tanics, which I don't love that decision. Honestly,
I did
still,
not
like, I mean,
like
it's a
that.
good raid, but and then in Garden of Salvation, it's just some freaking
Yep.
big Minotaur.
Yep.
Like I
I'm
don't
with
know.
you, Paul.
I keep guessing wrong on those, and like so whatever I think and hope
Oh,
it will be,
Paul.
I feel like it's not going to be that. I feel like it's just going to be like a giant Scorn monster that has some sort of lore attached to it. That is my guess for now.
E, I gotta get your opinion on this. You gotta. I need you, the witness, your thought, the art style, the thing, everything. What you
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I first off never expected us to see anything related to. There's always been the hint of the veil since D1 concept art. It's going back that far, the shadowy figure, and then I'm going kind of shadowy figure, armor that's kind of moving, head that never stops growing, like all. And I couldn't honestly tell if like what was in the background. You said it was the witnesses a gather of like civilizations. I didn't know if that was like all the moons of like Fundament either, though, so I couldn't quite tell if that's what it was.
yeah,
So that makes more sense.
The witness, according to the lore, used to be a collector of societies and isn't anymore.
Gotcha. And the new rat in chat was
He
basically
ran out
saying,
of space.
yeah. New rat in chat was saying the witness was once immortal, and if that's the case, then that could lean
Correct.
into the fact that it has some shape. Now, granted, you can't see below here, so you get to see the eyes. You don't get to see anything down here. What's under it? It could be the whole Men in Black, where it's like here, and then there's this little dude underneath. Obviously, that's not it. But I think Travis actually phrased it fairly well. It was like unsettling, off-putting, uncomfortable. It was weird because you guys described it like the eyes were strange, but like I couldn't look away. I was trying to figure out what, like, was it a jawline? What's with like the kind of forehead line? Still don't understand what's going on with the hair that is not. That's what's on the top of the head that
I love how we
continues.
have to personify it. It
No,
has
Yeah.
the smoke
The
is
smoke.
actually, if you look at the skulls, I thought there were
Yeah,
skulls.
there were
It's-
skulls,
It's
yeah.
his own face, or it's that race
Oh,
of
okay.
people. It's
Yeah.
his face, so it's not human skulls or anything. It's
So
like,
he's the Shang
copies of
Tsung
his face.
of collecting souls over here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, same with you guys. Like, I was completely thrown off. Did not expect it. Didn't see it coming. Thought the walk away would be this one, and you just see this figure, and I was like,
Fade
okay,
out.
yeah. It's like that's exactly what I figured. And then the turn, I was like, and then you saw it, and I'm kind of with you guys. I wasn't sure how to take it, but as you guys were saying, I think the idea of everything we have is like it's so rigid, and you see all the detail in Caiatl's armor, and it's like it is the antithesis of what we know. It is this weird anime eye, kind of flowy, always a little vibey, which is weird because they're all about the triangle, which is all hard shapes, and the Traveler's round, and yet the representation is like we're all rigid, and apparently there could be more fluid in a sense. Like just as the back and forth between the two, hearing you guys talk about it, basically sells me on it more, as you guys have been sitting here debating, to say if it is the other side of the equation, or however you want to light versus dark and all of those other pieces, it is weird enough that it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's
I
kind of...
just brought it up now as we're watching. I still don't like it.
I can't
I
get on
think
board.
the smoke should have started at the eyes.
Okay.
That would have been like really unsettling and weird to just have like smoke head from there. It's just I can't do the eyes.
Yeah, get over it. Listen, man.
I will-
Now
I'm
he
sorry,
looks like Thane from Mass Effect that I'm looking at.
yeah, he got a little thing in him. Yeah, he got a little
He
thing.
does, yeah.
Little thing. I can see that.
Sorry, they do. It's
They
a
do.
Yeah,
Correct. Yes,
yeah,
they
that's
do.
true.
I mean, if he wasn't finished, then I'll go.
No,
ahead.
I mean, that's most for me. It was just the fact that it was unexpected. And I've played through it. I'm going to play through it a couple more times because I'm getting close to seeing it again. I'm just every time I think about that image, I kind of want to interact with it more, and I'm curious when we're going to get to. And as you guys are talking about, you have Lightfall and Final Shape. Lightfall seems extremely telling in title, as you guys are talking about it. Is it the fall of the light? Is it the separation between the two? Is the darkness coming in? Maybe we don't have access to the Traveler, which would... And that's the weird thing. It's like you think at some point the Traveler is going to go away. They're not going to put all this effort in. And this is where you like the game mechanics have to ground some of the story where it could be a little crazier. We're not going to get rid of Arc 3.0 and Solar 3.0 like 3 months after we get the final one in Lightfall or even Final Shape. I don't feel like they're going to do that. So again, I wonder, is it like Travis said, where eventually we're going to be the embodiment of both light and dark, and we are the one that walk in the gray, and both of these fall? That would make some sense more.
Yeah. They have to do that if they want to continue Destiny 2 past.
Yeah.
It's Call of Duty now. We just don't have any powers.
There's no way.
Yeah.
So it's like double jump anymore.
Yeah. So it's one of those weird moments where you're like, you can go as wandering as you want, and then you're like, they still have to make a game function after this, and you can kind of like try and take it from there. But overall, the look, I think I don't love it or hate it. I think I'm just more intrigued to understand more about it. And I hope we don't have to wait a year to get anything else from this little, like, tiny little clip before next year. That's my hope.
I don't think so. I think this whole year, again, is going to be building up Nightfall the way we built up the Witch Queen. So I think we're going to have a lot more. This expansion was more darkness than I thought it was going to be. There's a whole mission in a pyramid ship. I thought that was just going to be the raid.
Did you guys
I said
the scale of that ship?
There's a Europa mission. Like, we're going to like run a strike backwards or something. Like, whole mission in a pyramid. Like, that is really unexpected. So there's a lot more darkness.
You said the next year of Destiny, and I think you meant to say 18 months.
Maybe, which I don't care. If we get another Witch Queen quality level expansion, I am.
I'll wait for it. I have
Me too.
I have to catch up on
Horizon,
Elden Ring, God of War. I got other stuff to play. I got to
raise a child.
Hey, see, Paul needs a break. Paul has to level up his child before he can take on Lightfall, so it's fine.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that I guess I'm not with my boy Paul on this one, but I understand your thought process, because it's like, when you look at it, you're not like afraid of that entity, right? And I understand it is really different than what they're used to. But I think that's the difference, is what I like about it. It just feels alien. I think the thing for me is, I remember Garden of Salvation raid ending and the conversation talking, and I'm going to assume this is witness talk during that time. And when they kind of have you looking at yourself and talking to yourself and wanting the daughters, whatever. And it's just the unknown aspect of it, and I like it different. From the shadowy figure, I thought it was going to be exact representation of the shadowy figure that we would see in the Deep Stone Crypt, the statue that you always see, the hooded thing, the veil, the arm. I thought it was going to be that kind of a witch kind of vibe, and this was just different. And the ominous part to me wasn't being afraid of the character, Paul. To me, the ominous part was, yes, the smoke was fire, but when I saw the ships behind, and I saw that, like, it felt like someone who is in control, or the lieutenant of something that is conquering civilizations. Like, they are going through, and you are next on the list to be assimilated, right? And that's why it excited me, because I was like, in a way, if it is true law-wise, like, did Savathun help avert this assimilation at one point? Right now, they're gonna have to explain the hell out of that of how she did that. We know there's a lot of questions and holes there on certain levels that they got to clear up. But the idea of that overarching threat with Savathun, now this gray moral character that has been now chosen by the light, that part excited me. But I'm with you on the art style part. It is completely different, but I think I was okay with it this time.
It's one shot. I'll give it more of a chance. Yeah. So if we see different angles, but I don't know. I think the shrouded figure, the statue, has been more intimidating and like mysterious this whole time. But
I will say though,
that's what's
they got to take the shroud off at some point, though. You can't fight.
I know.
Yeah,
but
you can't fight a blanket. I do want to say though, what you guys were talking about though is when it goes into what's after the campaign. And depending on how much of that you've gotten into, Mara's still here. Mara is in full force.
Mara survived.
Unfortunately.
Hilarious.
Do what?
The Parasite quest.
Oh my God,
funny.
The worm. Please,
yeah,
somebody just like give me more. I'm dying.
The first time it started talking, I just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, it's actually speaking English.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
That was amazing. But when you guys were tying into the witness, it's the point where Mara, and I probably don't remember the line correctly, somewhere, I guess, in all of her otherworldly travels, when she talks about a voice that she has heard louder than any other, that basically like sounded like it talked into her soul. When she's talking about it, sounds like she may have heard from the witness as well. So her connection to all of this went off in her infinite throne world, and then she's sitting here now standing as we, put the little hive worm in a gun type thing, which is hilarious, but more the implications behind everything that's going on. Mara has these contingency plans when we're on her list of her hit list of like people, by the way, last resort.
I was like, Mara's Batman. She's got prep time and she has plans to how to kill everyone in case they turn bad. That is literally Batman.
Yeah.
Yes. Shout out to Mara.
She could do it too. I believe her.
Yeah,
I hate her. She's my least favorite character by far.
She became my least favorite character by the end of Season of the Lost. I don't know.
Oh,
She got
good.
a little bit. She got a little better, I think, in the conclusion after she's like was outsmarted clearly and is.
Paul, her plan was to kill him with a knife.
That was hilarious. I laughed when she pulled out the knife. I'm like, you were gonna stab Savathun just like in the face. That was your plan.
Yeah, that was her genius. Don't worry, I got the Queen of Lies. I got her beat. I got a knife.
Deeply confusing.
I was like, somehow I got to give her a little more credit, but yeah, that definitely kind of questions your motives if all you got's a knife. But she's also thrown this entire like half god wave at Oryx's ship, and then she's sitting here with a knife. That was weird to see at the end and everything. But now it's really cool to get these interactions. Not a lot of them, and I think as you said, Cog, the whole thing. It would be cool to see more of the characters on our side of things throughout the missions that we've been going through. Because we actually got to see Mara at the kind of tail end of her stuff that we were talking to. But I mean, you've got Shaq, Zavala, Anna. Like, we didn't hear any words from all the people.
I was supposed to Anna didn't say one word.
Most of that room did not say a word.
We're getting at least one Anna Rasputin season this year.
Please.
I almost guarantee that's happening. So I think we'll definitely see more Anna.
I
think I talked to the voice actress. She really strongly hinted at that Anna would be coming back. So
I will say Zavala, Lance Riddick hit that tower scene.
Oh yeah.
Like I've never seen him that emotive for Zavala was really cool just to see the level and then Ikora coming in. But yeah, there's an entire room of people who don't say a damn thing. And I was like, can we get a little more with some of these? Just some discussion. But I was like,
voice
it's a cheap
actor
cutscene.
Availability.
Yeah, it's like it's a cheap
Saint
cutscene.
14 touched a shoulder. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a,
There was not a lot of changes in animations. There's no like hugging, moving. It's just like kind of static models most of the time. It looked cool. And again, Zavala absolutely was the focus and nailed it. But yeah, I will definitely say it's been cool to see what's post-campaign. Because you've got those like reflections, interactions in the portal, the voicemails voicemails from Savathun. It's about the memories.
basically.
I mean,
Not far off.
Did you guys see the two truths and two lies?
Oh my god, I've been wondering about that all day, Paul.
All right, well, I can't remember.
I still remember them.
I don't think this is very spoilery if you haven't seen it yet. But okay, you have to do. This is kind of weird because like you have to do like a separate memory mission that is separate from the other ones that's just on the map. So just click on the node and do it. And it's just a little encounter and like you've done with the other memory things and you kill things. And then Savathun shows up and he's like, she wants to play 2 truths and 2 lies. And she says 4 things and 2 of them are true and 2 of them are not true. Okay, so Travis, you'll have to help me remember all of them. One of them is that the other planets, Io, Mercury, and Titan, are in Savathun's care.
Correct.
That is a statement. What was the one about the witness?
So the 3 planets that still are gone are in Savathun's care. The Savathun returned Mars to us was the second thing that she said. The third thing was you will soon gain the power to make planets appear and reappear at will.
I thought it was to move. I thought it said like to move things between worlds.
Basically that you can make planets available or not available, which is crazy. And then the fourth one is the Taken King shall return, shall rise again.
Okay, I've got them actually verbatim. So yeah, Taken King will rise again. The power to move worlds will soon be yours.
Yes, move worlds.
The witness returned Mars to your solar system.
That's it. The witness.
And then Mercury, Io, Titan are in my care.
Correct. And I think.
What do you think?
I think the 2 that are correct are that the witness returned Mars to us.
Yep.
And that we will soon gain the power to move worlds.
So you don't think we're getting King's Fall back?
No King's Fall.
No.
I don't think the witness one's true because he didn't really seem like he was doing a lot, or wanting to be involved until the very end.
But what's with
So,
the
like-
relic in the Enclave and kind of basically the Enclave looks like the Darkness ship architecture
Yeah.
to a point for the whole weapon crafting area. They're like, this wasn't here before.
That's true, actually. Okay, never mind. Maybe
Yeah,
that
and
one's right.
and also the darkness, we know from season of the Arrival that the darkness did take it. Like that was canon, and so it's possible that Savathun returned it to us and that she used some magic, but I tend to think there's a better chance of that. I think the taking King Rising again, if we get King's Fall back, I don't think that'll be canon because it's the exact same thing. It's not like
the legends
it's
haven't
not like
been canon.
Oryx is going to come back and then be like, oh, and I'm going to let you kill me the same way you did last time. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen.
The legend raids are fun, but they're not story.
Yeah, and then Savathun having the other planets seems very low stakes to me. So I think it's those two, which would be the most surprising.
I feel like both the Savathun one and the Witness one can't be true because, like, I feel like it's got to be one or the other because why?
Correct. Yeah,
that power be split.
That would be super boring if that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those.
I got to get to that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's really short. It's just like essentially one encounter, really. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's like a bunch of these. I don't know how many there are, but I was surprised to see that because if you do 2 of those a week, it's like a power engram or something. So like it's telling you to do them, which is a little weird. But yeah, it took me a little while to even find that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Thanks for bringing that up, Paul. I was like on the top of my list of things to talk about, and I totally
do a whole
forgot,
video on that eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a lot of lore, man. A lot of.
What do you think the power to move worlds could be? I've been thinking that it's like.
I think it's the shroud. I think it's what shrouded the worlds because like I don't think they're just like in a bunch of clouds. I think they were pulled somewhere, like another dimension or something. Like you know, the dude in the ship has got all the planets hanging around.
Yeah,
like,
correct.
I think literally like those could be shrouded. We should actually examine those planets to see if like Titan...
one of them is Mars.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Because you can
I was
see
wondering
the
if like
tears.
Mercury and Io and stuff would be in there too.
You can see the tears through time as one of the planets. Like it's like Mars with like tears of
it's that one?
greenery through it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember seeing that one. So maybe those aren't literal planets. Maybe he was just like observing representation of the planet or like a hologram or whatever.
But he's a collector, so they could also be literal planets. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe those are taken for specific reasons or something. But that's what I imagine the power to like move worlds is. And like I don't know, maybe Earth will be moved at some point. But
yeah,
I don't know. Weird look, obsession with collecting things. Is the Witness Teddy?
Yo.
As one of our previous guests.
Shout out to season Teddy.
I know Teddy.
No. So I wanted to ask you guys, have you seen the helm redesign? Kind of like workaround, like basically the way it kind of changed.
Cabal themed one, yeah.
So like there was, again, I never know if this was a thing. It looks more and more like that is going to be kind of one of our permanent structures if we ever lose the tower or ever lose our connection to Earth and EZDZ, because now it looks like the windows even have like blast shields on them. And there's always this
ship. I mean,
yeah, it's like there's the rumor that thing is a ship. If that thing ever has to depart, that seems when you guys are talking about planets coming and going or things like that. If we're ever going to lose EDZ and kind of the tower or anything like that, it does seem like that they slowly might be building us up to, as you said, moving worlds around. Well, if that actually happens, then it does seem like they're slowly making the helm kind of more of a permanent place for all that stuff to happen.
I think we're going to leave the solar system. Maybe not before final shape. Maybe that'll be the next phase, but I think that's definitely the plan to leave the solar system at some point and go, I don't know, Vex homeworlds, like Darkness.
Well, they're running out of places to go, so we better.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I'm curious to see just a couple of the loose end characters. Obviously, the Stranger. You know, there's a couple questions. I want to see how they handle a lot of stuff in the few seasons. We talked about, you know, Anabe Bray.
Anabe.
It's
Anabe.
I know. So it's like, we just got to see I want to know where they go with that. They're setting up Saladin. I love the conversation with Zavala and Saladin about how he mentored him and how wild Zavala used to be, because Saladin clearly does not like Crow. Like it is so hilarious how he's just like, I don't even know why we're dealing with him, you know, his past and everything. And then he was like, look, I was that guy and you took me under. You know what I mean? So please be the mentor, because I feel like my only, let's say, the little nitpick is like, to me, Crow should be advancing a little bit more. And I feel he got set back with this Savathun thing. Because in my eyes, I'm assuming he was always going to eventually be the Hunter Vanguard. So
I still think he's going to
Me
be.
too,
I
but
think it's taking longer than I
they're
thought.
taking long with this. I'm like, when is he? Because my only thing is, it's just getting to that point with every major cataclysmic event. It's just Ikora and Zavala, and that's great, and we love them. But the hunters need their shine. Like, it's time, So that's where I want to know where that goes. And what I will say, even though I said all that about Zavala and Ikora, I did love Ikora questioning herself for the first time. And I love that Finch was like, well, wait, if she's the great spy, she's the one that got you guys found out, and she's the like, I love, like, he's so matter of fact with it.
Oh,
Your
Finch is
greatest
great.
spy master got fooled. So how can we choose? Like, I love that component and that dynamic of it. It was hilarious to me. So yeah, it was good, man. The story was great. It's so much here. The narrative team, man, they did it. They really did it. I really can't. I'm just nitpicking at this point. They really told a fantastic story.
Yeah. So raid predictions are Scorn mostly, and then maybe they break off a preview of the remix when it comes to what's going on with the Witness and the Darkness. Maybe at least in the boss.
I feel like there's got to be loose Hive champion or like.
Oh, there. I mean,
Hive
the
Guardians
whole.
in there. It'd be a little weird to not have them be in there.
Featured,
At all.
Yeah, the fact that we have an artifact that is based around suppression
Mm.
is heavily going to lean into the fact that that's going to be one of the better ways to manage the Guardians. Because if you get a couple of those in a room in an encounter and there's like multiple supers going off, you're going to be dropping people left and right if they're not suppressed. So as you said, the glaive being able to suppress just with a projectile is going to be able to hopefully keep those guys, while they are Guardian level type enemies, at least at bay from supers. Because the supers catch one of those Titan shields coming at you, yeah, they will definitely take your head clean off. So those, and then again, the knives, that's what I wanted to say when we were talking about it before. This seems like a preview of Solar 3.0 when we got to see if this is what Blade Barrage could be. Throw the knives up in the air, and then you could kind of cast where you want it, or maybe they're like auto-tracking and go. I would love to actually see this be a preview of what kind of the rework of Hive could be, and if that's like the animation of what the knives are like. They're massive, by the way. They are massive, massive knives that they throw at you, and you take one, you're like, that's like most of the screen.
The Hive go hard with their knives.
Yeah.
They love swords.
Two shields, like they double up on basically everything we do. Except I feel like the wizards got a little hosed. They don't seem nearly as
Wizards are very good.
Yeah, they're not that
I've
threatening.
Really struggled. Just they're hard. They're just hard to find.
Yeah, they fly around.
But they're not. I don't know. I never was killed by a Hive Wizard. I was killed by plenty of Knights and Acolytes. But
Yeah, the shield throws weren't too bad to dodge, but yeah, the knives ever so often peeked my head out, and I just took one straight to the dome, and it was over pretty fast. But I am very curious.
I like that they can one shot you with their super. That's really funny to me.
I mean,
yeah,
it makes sense. It's actually because we do it to them all the damn time, so it is actually really nice. Do you guys finale outside of it? Do you guys have a favorite mission?
I don't know if I remember them well enough.
So many.
I like literally just finished all of them. I mean, it's hard to top. I think the very last mission with Savathun. I just like environment wise, storytelling wise. I think it was. I like undoing the curse and stuff. Like it's not a very combat intensive part, but I just think revealing the story to her like during the middle of the fight. It's a very memorable mission. It's the opposite of whatever Panoptes was in Curse of Osiris. Like,
Great boss
that's
design.
how you do an ending story mission.
Yeah, great boss design in Panoptes. Not a great fight.
No, you're right. I think you know what it was.
It looked so cool though.
He did.
Yeah, it looked cool. I got to give it to that one too, because while the Savathun's witches are weaving the spell, and the lie is revealed for the first time, you see her character break.
Yeah,
you think this? You think this is the truth? Like, and I love it because she's so used to being in control and being one step ahead, and then you see it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's so many, man. They did a good job. Like, I did like the one with the guy in the circle pit. That one was cool. I like the one.
I forgot about the Ahamkara. That was also dope.
That was very surprising.
Yeah.
And it took me way too long to figure out what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I was.
Because,
Yeah,
like,
it took me a
the
minute.
precision shot in the mouth is like very small. So I was
Yes.
like, I was shooting
Small
it,
window.
but it was always immune, and it's only
Yeah.
active for a short period of time. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on with it. So I was wandering around for like 20 minutes the first time I did
Yep,
that.
that took longer than I probably say I'd proud to. Not like
I
a
figured
glut.
it out immediately.
Of course you did.
course.
Yep, no question.
You know why? Because I just refused to accept it was immune. I just kept shooting it, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm doing damage now."
At some point,
Stray
this
bullet
has to
hit it,
work. Even
Yeah,
though
I
you
was just
get
shooting like
melted.
I could hear Destin looking around for stuff, and I was just shooting in its mouth, and I was like, "Oh, I'm doing damage. Let's just shoot it." Yeah.
What about Trav? Your favorite mission? What was your favorite one?
I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with the consensus that it's the last one, but the first mission where you meet Finch is
Ooh.
amazing. I really, really like that. Just the whole going to the throne world for the first time was really, really great.
Mhm.
I like the mission where you find out about the lie. That's the mission before the final one, and I think
Yep.
that's where is that also the mission with the Ahamkara? I think it might be.
It's the
Yeah,
the
so
cunning.
I think that's actually probably my favorite one because I was just like juiced and I was ready to go to the final battle. The final battle is a little bittersweet for me because that mission is the one that took me the longest to get through on the hard mode. I was playing with a full set of people, and one of them was
I think
Destin.
it's harder
So
with more people.
It
I
honestly-
do. I
Yeah.
think the,
It gets
I think the
harder.
enemy
It
health is
scales.
too high with 3 people.
It was
I
way
did not have
harder
trouble
with-
with that solo, and I am not very good. So,
yeah, it was way harder with 3 people for me because one of my players was a brand new Destiny player still figuring things out.
Oh.
And the other one was Destin Legary. So I had
Okay, I
no
get it.
fire team. I was
I get it.
soloing that basically. Yeah.
With a scale difficulty.
Well, there goes that guest spot.
Yeah.
No, but I will say I played with New Red Blackwings. They're sitting in chat right now because Blackwings was trying to finish up the legendary, and he's like, "Hey, can you guys come in and help me?" So I jump in, and all of a sudden, normally it's the wizards that are sitting that you're rotating for that buff, and now you shoot one and it's not dead. I'm like, "Why are you not dead? You should be dead right now. I just blasted you with a rocket, and you're not dead." So just the fact that that happened, we eventually had to.
rockets on wizards, shoot him with stun glaive, whack him with the glaive.
Stun
and
glaive.
that's all I did. I did that 6 times. With
No,
the glaive.
solo I had no
problem.
solo had no problem. Like Arbalist
So you
or a
saw the
rocket.
difference.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
solo. I died, but that was like getting caught out of position between a super and a couple enemies. I was like, yeah, I get that one. But once I kind of got a feel and got some positioning and rotation around, eventually ended up getting it by myself, and it was a good challenge. But yeah, with the 3 people, I was doing the damage I was doing before. I was like, that health bar is not moving that fast.
Yeah.
So,
It was.
you know what I noticed, and I know we're getting towards the end here, but like one thing just overall with the campaign, I think one of the core reasons the difficulty works the way it does, and why no one is complaining about it, what was missing from the Legend version of the campaign?
Champions.
Champions.
Champions suck.
This is why I
Yep.
can go and post my glaive evangelism, and I have 50 people telling me their loadouts, and they're all different. And that is
Yeah.
something you just cannot do
Yep.
in
Yes.
Nightfalls or
Yep.
in hard mode raids because you need the specific things, and it's always like some stupid primary you don't want to use usually, and
Yep.
whatever one weapon they've picked to be the good weapon for the season.
point.
And I cannot like now they're putting champions in the story missions as part of the Master and Legend, so there are
Yep.
champions now. I don't think that's going to be as fun.
No,
because
you're
I'm
gonna
not
be
going to be
stuck.
able to use my same loadout again.
You know what they
So,
should do? They
yeah.
should just make mods that are called like Shield Breaker, Overload Breaker, and just make it like 6 points. Make it cost like 6 points. That way it has to take up most of your slot, and everybody can just load up one of those and it works with any
But
weapon.
at that point, it's like, why even have like? I
Why
don't
not?
think champions are necessarily a good route to go with
No.
difficulty.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
I think
if I could snap my finger and remove them
Yeah.
from the game, I would for sure.
That's what I mean,
Yeah.
though. Like maybe this should be the design philosophy going forward because they change enemy density. They have the hard power cap, which keeps you under.
Yep.
They have interesting fights with Hive Guardians that
Yeah.
are unique. They have mechanically interesting puzzles and bosses, and all of these things combine together to be like there's the difficulty. Whereas like champions are like, do you have the champion thing? No.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Like,
literally your
it's-
gauntlets. You may as well go to Grasp of Avarice, get the triple slot, equip all 3, and you just forget about your gauntlets because it's just taking care of champions. And then you can pick about 4 different weapons as well. No, I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Because, you phrased it perfectly because that is one of the things. I was like, hey, I'm working on solo guides with a hunter and no exotics, just like the least survivable class I could think of for PvE. And I'm going, you don't have to worry about champions. You just need to survive, typically be able to work from range, except for the dark mission, because there's a lot of things, and just try and be aware of your surroundings. But as you said, the enemy density, I was just going through the pyramid ship. The mission on the pyramid ship on Europa, there are so many Cabal that spawn in waves in there. It is, but you can do it.
Yeah.
Sitting there planking them all with arrows and going through, shoot a rocket at the boss, get a damage phase. And that was a point that for whatever reason, I didn't hate the damage phases. It did not feel like the hollowed layer strike. So I'm going damage, and I hit another wall. It's like you got the big boss bar, it's kind of getting down, and then a huge wave comes out, but you also have something to do. So it makes sense. You have the mechanics, the boss density as you get the density, and then the Hive Guardians. So yeah, give me more unique enemies to fight. The champions that just you looked at them wrong, and then but we didn't even mention the best part. Overload is broken.
Yeah, it's broken.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I haven't even messed with that yet.
Yeah, I think the short version is now they've got the Hive Guardians, which serve as a perfect foil for instead of champions, like an interesting enemy type, and they've got mechanics inside activities, which now they should just use that to increase difficulty. I think Paul's right. That's the new game design. They should just follow that philosophy with all of their stuff going forward. And I think now, if they had any excuse before to not put mechanics inside their casual stuff, they're gone. They need to just do it going forward.
This is proof.
Yeah.
And last, I know Paul's got to wrap up, but it's the thing that is really cool for me. I got to get them their flowers. I agree with everything you guys said. It proved with mechanics and good, interesting enemies and everything, you don't need to rely on champion stuff for difficulty. But I want to give them their flowers for the legendary campaign or a power level technique. So if you challenge yourself, you put it on that difficulty, you can now get yourself the double drops and then up to the cap to be ready. So I like that. So now it added more value to the campaign. And now and then to your point, Trav, and we're looking at the glaive and there's other things where they're rewarding you for rerunning the campaign by increasing that bar. So it's good stuff all around. And I want to give them, they really did their job with that stuff. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there's a reason to play the campaign again, the champions are going to be annoying, but you can get reputation. The fact that it's worthy to replay at all, that's probably the biggest thing. Why would you want to replay it? Because these are really, really fun encounters, and as you said, the rewards as you go through. At some point, I'm guessing the double chests may not be as rewarding once we hit 1550, but it's still, that was... The fact that we went to 1520 and here's your infusion fodder, and it's not, here's the infusion fodder and no upgrade modules. They're and the upgrade modules, and we're going to throw them at you as you go. And it just,
great job.
All the way through. I played 12 hours straight on stream, and I literally had no complaints for the entire time. The whole way through. It was a wonderful journey from start to finish. Yeah, I probably bought a few upgrade modules because I was doing Legendary Unknown, but outside of that, literally... I will take the upgrade modules, but that was for Legend and Solo, and I did it. But I will definitely say, so much of that could have been done just going through, and it would have been a challenge probably more without my loadout, but I'm proving you can do it without. I don't know. I've had such a good time these last couple of days.
Tassi, the legend, thank you for taking the time with us, brother. I know you got to run.
Thanks for having me. No, I appreciate it. This has been my biggest, longest discussion, and I'm happy to have it with you guys.
Always, man. Always fun, man. And where could people find you? I hate to rush because I know the boy got to go.
That's fine. Just at Paul Tassi on Twitter, and you can Google me for my articles.
No doubt. E, another one. We made it.
I know. We actually got to... Just the fact that we're post Witch Queen launch after this thing, couldn't have had a better group to talk to with all of you guys today. This is a good collective minds to bounce everything around in post Witch Queen, and then Fallout right before was I don't know, back-to-back episodes, just greatness. Thank you everybody who's been in chat and listening. If you enjoy the show, wherever you find it in video or audio, 5-star reviews, Apple, Spotify, all those things. But also for me, you guys have been just extremely supportive lately with the content and everything, so I just want to thank all of you guys as well. It's been just great so far. Travis, what about you? Are you reviewing Elden Ring now? You get to go off and do that?
I am not reviewing Elden Ring. I will probably not get around to Elden Ring until next month, because who has time for that with Destiny out? But yeah, you can read my review in progress of Destiny 2 The Witch Queen tomorrow at some point.
Ooh, okay.
I'm actually writing it tonight. So after this, I got to go to that cocktail party. And then after that, I've got to write the review. My review will be in progress by the end of day tomorrow. And then my final review will happen the day after the raid. So that'll be March 6th on Sunday. It probably won't be live until Monday, realistically, because I have an editor who has to read it and he doesn't work weekends. But it should be ready to go right after the raid, and we have a full assessment. Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter at TieGuyTravis. You can read all the reviews and previews I've been doing the past couple weeks on ngn.com, and you can support my fellow friends here, including Paul Tassi, who may or may not be in an episode of Fireteam Chat tomorrow. We'll see.
Fire.
Hey,
Love
hey,
Love it.
IGN popping off in the Destiny content. Look at this.
No doubt. You already know me, LordCognito, on Twitter, Iron Lords Podcast, Defining Duke, all that good stuff, man. Another great show. Shout out to the chat. Everybody was fantastic. This was fun, y'all. We in the mix. We in the grind. Raid next week. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for everybody in chat, you guys have been amazing. Christopher Sharp, you're the MVP of the evening. For all of you guys, hosts who joined us today, Tassi, thank you for taking the time. Let you go. Sorry. And for this episode, number 186, February 24th, Post Witch Queen, it has been the last word.
The last word.
All right. Chat, you guys are amazing. We will see you soon.
Peace.